Dubnus asks, what do I think of the upcoming PIL NA and EU spring scrims? You know what's funny, Dubnus, is someone just asked me about this earlier today. I was logging into Emerald to get some loadouts set up, and they just messaged me. I told him that's probably going to be taking questions on my stream tonight, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to talk about PIL NA and EU spring sometime?" And I was like, "Love to, but I'm busy at the moment. Come on the stream if you want." So I don't yet have an opinion about this because I don't know what they are. I would sure like to know. I will say this. I am bullish on PIL. For those who don't know, PIL is the Planetside Infantry League. It is a player-organized, developer-empowered Planetside esports organization, basically. There's no money involved. It's all bragging rights. Why can't I find their Discord in my list? Oh my god. Dubnus, why didn't you tell me who you were? So it's not a coincidence. The same person asking me on the stream is the person who was bugging me in game. Y'all, put me out of my misery, please. Bolters, do you want to come on the mic and talk to me about this a little bit? Hop into my Discord. I'd love to talk to you about it.
I'm so sorry. I had to do it to you. I had to do it to him.
I'm glad you dropped in, regardless of the subterfuge. What do you want me to call you?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
All right, I'm gonna go with Bolters because that's the name I've always known. So this is IV6 Bolters we're talking about. Member of officer, leader of Bushido Way, right?
Oh yeah, I guess, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I guess so.
So do me a favor and fill me in on PIL NA and Planetside Infantry League North America scrims and the EU Spring scrims. What's going on there?
Right. Well, let's start off with the more well known, and depending on who you ask, right? Because there's a little bit of controversy. That's a strong word.
Okay.
But depending on who you ask, PIL NA is obviously more legitimate, shall we say, than the EU Spring scrims. I myself, I haven't dived into that drama, but essentially PIL's been around for longer, and the Euro Spring scrims are just something that's going on while PIL NA happens. Anyway.
Oh, so the EU Spring scrims has got nothing to do with PIL. It's like a parallel thing.
It's just a parallel thing. The only kind of similarities are it's 6v6. Very similar rule set, very similar map pool. And there's actually an overlap in the teams as well. But from my understanding, it seems to be kind of more aimed to like the lesser experienced teams.
Okay.
As you'll see in the rosters.
Okay. Well, it's good to have teams at all levels. Like a properly well-developed esport makes it possible to compete at different levels of ability, right?
Well, I mean, it's I really dislike the term esports at Planetside.
Okay, well, I'm using the word esports in the generic sense, like it's about competition and ability expression, right? Because I think it's worthwhile to distinguish this, like from live server Planetside, or even from Outfit Wars, which is kind of like live server in a bottle. Like it's not the same thing. This is about getting good, about dominance, about competition. But Planetside is about so many things in addition to those things. It's a boiling down of what some people love about certain parts of Planetside into a competition that hangs together. I think it hangs together pretty well.
No, I get that. I just call it Jaeger Planetside. That's how I kind of get around that.
All right, the word esports is verboten. Got it. I won't use MLG either.
Oh, that's a throwback.
I'm not sure if I ever got that decal on my account. I need to double check it, but it's one of my favorite decals to see people wear.
You can still do the code, I think.
Oh, is it just one of the code ones? I forgot about that. I probably have it then.
Yeah, it's like one of like the free codes you can use. I think it's MLG report or something. Quite similar to that, at least.
Okay.
That's
cool.
But yeah, no. So PIL NA, right? It's going to have some good matches. I'll tell you that. Basically, let me count how many teams. I have to be careful here because it's a big number. All right, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13 teams for PIL NA.
Okay.
Which is quite a lot considering. It's only supposed to be geared towards NA, but really the only reason why it's called NA is because it's going to be NA friendly times, but kind of any team can play as long as they're willing to play at those times.
Sure, it's for organization purposes. Yeah.
Exactly, but the timing doesn't really matter because it's all going to be on a Saturday, Sunday, and I think maybe a couple games on Friday, here or there. So like, it really doesn't matter. So yeah, it's basically PIL 3.
Okay.
Obviously PIL 2 happened. I don't know. Was that October, November? I think of last year.
Don't know.
And essentially, what you need to know is that it's a 6v6 infantry format. One, you play 2 maps and 2 sides of each map, right? So like it'll be like the North Sunday versus the South Sunday, or or whatever. And PIL NA's got some big teams in there.
Yeah, big as in many players, or big as in big skill?
A big level of skill, right? The top, with PIL NA, it's quite easy to see the top 4 teams, because there is that skill gap in Planetside between like kind of the top level players compared to the the lesser experienced players, because all these players, they've got thousands of hours, most of them.
Oh my god, it's so intimidating. And you know what really drove it home for me, Bolters, is there's overlap between the PIL community, and I know some of those guys in PIL also are playing in Schachter's event that he's doing, the Planetside Speedrunners. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, very entertaining.
Yeah, it's so fun to watch. But I got to play in a show match against Kamikaze 78 on Friday last week.
I wasn't gonna bring that up.
You say like I should be ashamed of it. Oh shit. Well, look, I did my best. I never said I was anything more than an average player, which I think was totally on display in that match. But what really becomes apparent to me doing that, trying to grind out 100 kills, and it taking I think like in an hour and 5 minutes, I got 83 kills. Compare that to like the record setters, and even the record setter at like 19 minutes for 100 kills. But even the non-record setters, even
changed.
Just like the tier 1 part of the community is in like the low 20 minutes for the most part.
For sure. So actually, that record changed. I think it was last night. I think actually, Zyros dropped. I think it was a 16-minute or so.
Oh god.
And obviously Zyros is one of the key players on Ziz for PIL NA. So a huge overlap in terms of the skill level, essentially.
Who did Zyros smoke with that 16-minute run? Who was he playing?
Ryan. But Zyros only won, I think, 2-1 overall. Because Ryan, I think, picked up the first round. It was like both of these rounds. Sorry, all 3 of the rounds were really close. Except for that last one. So, because he just popped off. So it's just so when it comes to PIL NA,
okay, but yeah, the skill is big. Like the skill of these players, the top of the PIL, top of speedrunners, wherever it is, like it's a lot of the same players, and they're all just seriously intimidating. And like Planetside has this like total I think real life imitating like Pareto distribution type deal where like the better you are, the more you get almost. Like there's like an the opposite of diminishing returns with skill in this game, I think, in a lot of ways. And it's just intimidating to go up against these guys and watch. If you're just watching from like an observer camera point of view, it's hard to appreciate how good they are. And even guys guys like you too, Bolters. I'm not sure how you stack yourself up against these players, but I mean, I've seen you put on displays, man.
I mean, certainly when it comes with the obs cam, it is difficult to see kind of the nutty plays. Really, it has to be from kind of a POV look, which unfortunately, obviously in Planetside we don't have, unless they stream themselves, or they record their own gameplay. And you know, there's a clear kind of tiered system or hierarchy, I think, of skill. That's why, you know, the PIL top 4 teams are so easy to at least for someone who's in the know, to work out who the top 4 are, right? And they're normally the same names. So for PIL, right, you've got I'll go over the top 4 because to go over all the teams it will take forever, right?
Yeah, no need. Just give me the highlights.
Exactly. And the top 4 will enable us to segue nicely, hopefully, into kind of the EU spring scrims. So, in no particular order, no particular order at all, to avoid any drama, right? You've got the B-Hot team, right? Now, the experience, the skill, just everything about this team. I'm going to send you a link to the rosters in case you want to see yourself. You know, this team is just, yeah, it's disgusting, to be quite honest. I've had the unfortunate pleasure of playing against this or a similar team back in the Invitational, and you know, the way B-Way worked back then with the scrim team, it's totally changed now because Theo's running it. But back then, it was a really structured system. Because unfortunately, I took some Counter-Strike influence still with me. And so, unfortunately, a structured system against people with 2, 3, 4 times your hours. You know, I'm talking, you know, they'd be playing this game for you know, upwards of 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 hours, and here I'm sitting at like 1.5 over like kind of a similar, well, not exactly similar time span, but you understand what I'm saying.
So what you're saying is you were trying to organize a bunch of 7,000 hour players when you're only 1.5. So I'm guessing that means
no, I was trying to play against them.
And we just got oppose them. Okay.
Yeah, we just got stomped. You know.
Yeah.
Just totally stopped, and rightfully so, because I mean, this is a bit of a history lesson, but we weren't ever supposed to be in that tournament, really.
Okay.
A lot of people saying Ziz should have been in that tournament, but the only reason why they weren't is because of the time zone issue for a couple of their players, and that's why B-Way was actually in that tournament. We did get some upset wins somehow. Not even sure how, but we did. And that just culminated in getting absolutely slapped in the final because that skill gap, even between, you know, a team like B-Way, which people will see on live, they'll be like, oh, you know, I guess they're okay. But no, you look at B-Hot, and that's you know, that's a good team, you know. If you're going to call people good at Planetside, you can call the people on B-Hot good, basically. And so that's a perfect example of the top tier kind of skill gap between you know, a team like B-Hot and then a team like B-Way. I mean, it was my own fault for having such a structured system, which just meant we got spawn camped for three maps.
So what you're saying is that you guys weren't like flexible enough in your approach?
It was mainly the fact that we just couldn't kill them.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't win the 1v1s, then it's pretty hard, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of excuses to make, like we're missing a key player and all this other stuff, but at the end of the day, we just weren't good enough, right? And that is a perfect example of that skill gap. So when I talk about the next three teams, this is the magnitude of the skill gap that I'm on about. Mm-hmm. So after BHOT, you've got they've named themselves Chill for PIL NA. But if anyone's familiar with PIL, they're basically the DDR roster.
Okay.
They're just missing a Doc P, so it's people like Essing Power, Itzy, Hearts on Fire. These players.
Word.
Again, just a powerhouse European team, right? Simple enough, considered by some to be the best. At some point, the best player in the world, right?
Definitely.
And because I've said that, I'm also going to go back to BHOT real quick and say Sayan and Richard and Killers and Rag and Durdle. Again, all these names which just get put out there about, he's the best. Like, or obviously on CmdrCyrious, right? All these names can just be thrown out there for that kind of crown. But anyway, so yeah, Chill, powerhouse European team. Then you have Fiji. Fiji and their style. I love their style. Because it's got, in my opinion, the optimal amount of teamwork and individual skill, and it's disgusting. It is disgusting. Like the things they do, disgusting.
Okay, like what?
You just get wrecked. You just get wrecked, and that's it. It's just over, and it's like playing against them. It's a real eye opener, and you're just like, okay, fair enough. I guess, and that's why I never say I'm good at Planetside, because I've played against these teams.
Because you played against the guys who actually are
stomped. Good. Yeah, exactly. They are good players, and that's why they do the speed running and stuff like this.
Yeah, it's really cool that there are starting to be more avenues for players who do put in horrendous amounts of time and do really get their skill to this point that they can have a showcase like that. Like, hell yeah, the game needs shit like that, and I love to see it.
I love to see it too. I mean, I think as long as it's always a positive environment, then it's always going to be a good thing for the game.
Any proper esport has its share of negativity from time to time.
Yes, yeah, no, I'm well aware of that one. But it is what it is, Anyway, so then you got Ziz, right?
Okay.
And Ziz, it was I think PIL 2. The final was Ziz versus BHOT, if I remember correctly. I can't actually remember who won. But it doesn't matter, because on any it's just whoever turns up on the day, between BHOT and Ziz. All four of those teams, they have the ability to really hand it to one another. But
yeah, I've seen some comments from Rapid too. He's saying BHOT roles teams have a plan because of how flowy their gameplay is. Lots of knowledge, know how each other plays and fits together. You believe they've won every infantry tournament that they've played in. Wow, that's intimidating.
Yeah. So when I say there's a skill gap, this is exactly what I mean.
Right.
Perfect example of that.
So how many teams are there that are comprised of these players that you look to and say these are the good players? Like how big is that tier?
Yeah, those really those four.
Yeah.
I think are the proven ones. Keyword there is proven. Okay. There are some teams in PIL NA who you can look at and you can look at their roster like, oh, that could be a really like nice dark horse team in the tournament. But again, they're not proven, at least kind of from what I've seen. So,
like, who would you think about there? Like, who stands out to you as a dark horse?
Backstage, because they have experienced team. It's an experienced team. They've got people like Ganidia, Sabrowski, Street Scum, right? Gratka. These are and Shelm. These are all experienced 6v6 players. But I'm not sure how their mix will turn up like at the tournament. So that's why I don't put them in. But they're very close to that, to the 4 teams that I've mentioned. They're just I just haven't. I've either not keep track well enough, or because for me that's a mixture of the Backs and Ram team from the Invitational, and kind of the respective teams from PIL 2. So it's kind of a newer mix, powerful, and they'll probably do very well depending on how much time kind of the individuals put into like stuff like POG.
Got it. So is this a problem to have a tier of teams that just is that much better, or is this an opportunity? Like, how do you frame this reality for the rest of the teams playing in PIL?
I think it really depends on your mindset. Obviously, I think everyone wants to win, but you have to be realistic and say, unless we get really lucky, we probably won't, right? So then you have to look at other ways to kind of motivate yourself. And obviously, for my own mindset, it was about improvement. After the Invitational, I was so burnt out because of lane smash and outfit wars, and of course PIL itself. That I just didn't care about improving anymore. But for other people, that is 100% the right mindset, and I totally respect that mindset, because improvement should be, I think, one of like a team's main motivation if they're going against these teams.
Yeah, I guess the question then becomes, what's the payoff for improving? Like, what's the chicken dinner for the best players in the game?
So I think I think there's kind of multiple answers to that. So like, let's say you take just a random example here from PIL NA, right? Let's just say the help team, right? They smoke everyone. They win the tournament, hands down, no debate, right? Like, they're good players, right?
Hypothetical, or this actually happened?
But no, hypothetical, right? Hypothetical. This happens, and it's a total upset. The odds of it happening are probably 500 to 1, or probably even higher. But let's say it happens. Well, then obviously the payoff is that you've won, and that you've improved to such a level that you can beat these teams, that you can go toe to toe with them, right? So that's one payoff. Another payoff might be, your entire team might not do it, right? But let's say you as an individual improve to a level where you join one of these friends groups, right? Because they invite you to like a casual scrim or whatever. You join one of the friends groups, because that's what it is. To use the meme, group of friends. These 4 teams are mostly a group of friends, right? And by a large part, they're friends with one another as well. These teams aren't isolated from one another.
Yeah, it's a small world.
The scene,
right?
Yeah, exactly. The game is small. The scene itself is very interlinked. Most people know each other. And when you're a new person, the easiest way to get noticed is by saying something stupid. Like something dumb in Yell Chat or something, right? But when it comes to the payoff, getting into a team like that, I suppose could be seen as a payoff as well. Not just success within the tournament, but success, kind of in terms of like joining another team.
Yeah, so improving as an individual, getting noticed, kind of progressing yourself, even if the rest of your team doesn't progress. So even if there is motivation to perform well as an individual on these teams that don't have a chance to win. Okay. Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just trying to wrap my arms around what this looks like. I've said before,
But
and I mentioned at the start of this, like I think PIL is super cool, and I want to get more, become more knowledgeable about it, and maybe do some scrimming myself too if I can find time. But I did have a chance last year when I was rolling with the B-Way as an L-Way member for a little while to join some scrims, and I always love those. It's so important to have the actual coalescing of your skill into something that's unambiguous to say, yes, I am this level. No, I'm not the level I thought I was. And I think if all you ever do is play in the Planetside sandbox, which to be fair, you can. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Most people do. But you're never really going to know how you stack up if you don't take on something like this, I think. Do you think that's fair?
oh, for sure. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And just to kind of the last payoff, I just wanted to mention really quickly was that you know you have fun playing the format. Some people do genuinely enjoy 6v6 and that format, right? They don't care if they win or lose or how good they are. They just like playing in with the Planetside infantry mechanics, right? And as for what you've just said there, you're totally right. But unfortunately, it leads to an issue, I suppose, in terms of what would be referred to in other games as like the ecosystem of the game.
Okay.
Right, where if you're a player who simply plays on live and you try to only improve your infantry play on live, that is going to take 2 or 3 times as many hours as it would on Jaeger, right? Like it would be, and of course Jaeger's the private server where kind of all these formats and different game modes happen.
Right.
What might take someone say 1,000 hours on Jaeger will take someone 3,000 hours on live.
Yeah, definitely.
And because of that, if people don't get noticed on live, if they don't get into the right outfit, if they don't meet the right people accidentally, then by the time they reach kind of a position where they'd get noticed in terms of skill, they either just have heard about it already and just dislike it because maybe they've heard something negative or seen something negative, or maybe they've been treated poorly, which can happen. Sometimes, although this has changed quite a lot, sometimes it can, as we acknowledged earlier, it can be a negative experience for some people. So either they dislike Jaeger for that, or they just don't think of Jaeger as something that can help them because, maybe they've given it a go already, or maybe they haven't. They just think it isn't for them because of they're so stuck in their ways that it just doesn't work. And unless they have like a friends group or community to put them, kind of encourage them into Jaeger, then they won't do it. And then unfortunately, that's kind of potential talent that's lost for a tournament, right, or for an event. It would be like kind of an outfit refusing to play on Server Smash simply because they've heard bad things about Jaeger, right?
Sure.
To use a kind of extreme example.
I can understand, like, there are a few pretty visceral arguments that I can kind of sympathize with about why people wouldn't want to play on Jaeger. I mean, the number one being that it doesn't link back to your live account. Like, you literally can't show off in the sandbox anything you do on Jaeger, which I think kind of sucks. It's one thing I would like to see. I would like to see Planetside try to do the more these kinds of events happen is find some ways that the community can be empowered to pass out titles, decals, stuff like that. Something that allows it to reflect back on the live account. But I'm curious what you think about that. Is that, I mean, I don't really see where that could be a bad thing.
So, there is a precedent for it already. For example, people in the past have got the Record Smasher title in game for being a part of the. Yeah, exactly. Right.
I didn't know how games work.
of breaking the world record, right? Of how many people are online or whatever. People in the past, I think, have a Scrim Masters title or a Lane Smash champion title, or similar things.
That's cool. I didn't know about that. Okay.
Well, here's the issue, right? In recent years, that hasn't happened. I know for a fact. Kind of with not the most recent Lane Smash season, but the one that I played in, and the previous one in 2020. Apparently, we were supposed to get some titles. The devs have been asked about it. It's just not like it might happen. It could happen. But that's why earlier, when I was talking about payoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I did bring it up, because that shouldn't be your motivation, at least in my opinion. I feel like if you're looking for a reward for like the sandbox, then you have to operate or play within the parameters set by the devs. And well, what are the parameters the devs have set? Well, it's outfit wars, you know, or the campaign, or a a seasonal event, right? Like the cheerful title, I think, was one.
So what you're suggesting, Volters or Dubnus or whatever you're called, what you're suggesting is that it's okay these things to be separate, and for the rewards that come from these things to be separate. If you win a PIL season, people see it on Twitch, people know about it. There are community benefits. They don't have to be reflected in the game. If you get, a badass thing on live, like if you do a pumpkin smashing event, or if you're victorious in Outfit Wars, it doesn't need to be on Jaeger. Does that sound like the argument you're trying to make?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's an argument that I'm trying to make. I'd say it's a line of thought that I definitely explored.
So you aren't attached to it, but it sounds like that's the way you kind of lean. It's okay for these things to live in separate worlds.
Well, yeah, it's my personal belief, like, that you shouldn't expect a title, for winning, a lane smash, or for winning, PIL NA or whatever, right? Because I don't think that's even really kind of what you should be playing for in the first place. Why not play for like a reason which kind of means more, which would be, at least in my opinion, as I said earlier, right, personal improvement or your team's improvement.
Okay. So I think a better way to frame what you're saying than what I said is intrinsic versus extrinsic rewards. So being rewarded intrinsically by the activity, by the meaning it gives you, by the status you feel from accomplishing something, versus being rewarded literally, being handed a token of some kind, or some kind of thing you can show off to people. Like, it's actually funny you mentioned that. One of my earliest big conversations I had on my Twitch about Planetside was with Rel back last July, and we had this whole back and forth about intrinsic versus extrinsic rewards and what was appropriate. At the time, it was regarding the upcoming mission system and the campaigns. So, I think in what you're talking about is something Planetside has always kind of meandered around. Is, do we need a lot of extrinsic rewards? Are intrinsic rewards enough for people? It's an interesting problem, and it seems to me that because these PIL events happen on Jaeger, and because there's typically not a token, an extrinsic reward, it just naturally attracts people who are okay to just be intrinsically motivated and rewarded by what they do. Have the experience itself and the growth itself be worth the trip.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you've really kind of hit the nail on the head there, right? And I think kind of an important thing to remember is, this doesn't happen in a vacuum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because with these events, it is all made up of individual players, and so those individual players are going to kind of respond to what happens in these events, right? So, as I said earlier, right, most of the teams they know each other. Most of them are friendly or friends with one another, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's banter between them. It's like, oh, you lost this match or what or whatever, right? And that enhances kind of the intrinsic.
The shit talking. Let's call it what it is.
Well, the shit talking that adds to the experience, right? Kind of the
I
bragging
think
rights,
so.
right?
Yes.
And all these other things, right? That's just one example, So when it comes to kind of those external awards, right? It's like, oh, here, have a title, have 1,000 certs. The issue there is first that they have to achieve that. Well, I'm not gonna lie. When I first started out in Planetside, my motivation was never, oh, let me go, let me unlock this weapon, let me unlock that weapon. It
Right.
was, how do I move forward like he does?
Yeah. Yeah. How do I pull that off?
It's
Totally, man. That screams to me too, dude. Like every time I plug back into live, like there are some people that you run into who play at the same time you do, and whenever you see them, it's like, oh fuck, I'm gonna get deleted. And you
yeah.
just
So like,
wanna tilt the power imbalance over time.
mm,
And when you can start to do that, when you can go from like losing, 4 out of 5 engagements to losing like 3 out of 5 to 2 out of 5 engagements, it's like, holy shit. That feeling is
yeah.
amazing.
So like, here's a great example of that kind of is when I restarted playing Planetside, kind of. Was it last year? Or was it the year before? I think it was. No, it would have been kind of a little bit in 2019, and then
Mhm.
I kind of went with the lockdown and everything, kind of full, feet first into Planetside,
Yep.
2020. And there was this player, called Zucht, right? Otherwise known as Pinglong,
Okay.
and he would just dumpster me, right? Well, anyway, about a few months ago, Pinglong applies for L-Way, right, for B-Way.
Oh.
And I ask him, oh, who are you? Because he's German, right? So he's going to be playing on a Euro server. And then he goes, oh yeah, it's me, Zucht. And I'm like, do you know how many times you've dumpstered me? And what's funny now is that, I mean, he's probably going to call me out for saying this, but IMO, I feel pretty on par with him
Okay. You
nowadays,
think you've closed the
right?
gap? Okay.
Yeah, very much so. And so it's yeah, that is, I think, kind of just a really kind of weird story about which showcases that point quite
I don't think
clearly.
that's weird at all. I think most people who feel that the call to improve all have a story like that. I think most
Mm,
people like have like a nemesis. Like I'll even find like a session nemesis sometimes. Like lately, when I've been streaming Planetside, I played on Connery a bit last week because I was getting ready for the speed run, which was going to be on Connery, and I wanted to be comfortable with the latency and whatever. And I kept running into Perp from Recursion, and I just had so much fun on my stream, just like imagining myself in this pitched battle with this guy who I knew was better than me. And so whenever I killed him, I was
mm.
like, "Oh yeah, get fucked, Perp." It's just like I was shit talking him in my head, and the those moments, and I felt like, well, I don't know, it was only for a few days, so there wasn't really any time for the power balance to change. He's still a much better player than I am, but that that competition, and that bond that gets formed, even when you're only communicating via bullets, I think, as oddly poetic as that is to say, is really key for any kind of competitive video game. Again, dodging the word
Mm.
esport.
Well, I think it kind of. I can't really describe how that kind of bond works, but there is definitely something there, right?
But you were definitely connected to this guy, to Zook. Is that his
You
name,
reckon?
Zook?
Yeah, yeah, Zucht, yeah. And I just wanted to clarify, okay, because I feel like if he listens to this, it's going to be a point of contention. I looked up my stats. Okay, I've killed him 54 times. He's killed me 53 times. So
The
that's
game
the
is on.
W.
The game is
That's a
on.
W right there.
Let the battle begin, boys.
So yeah, time is getting on. So should we
Yeah.
kind of segue
Yeah.
really poorly
Hey,
into EU Spring?
Yeah, hey, let's find a few things to say about this. I want to talk to some other folks too. This is obviously a fascinating subject to me, but yeah. So we just talked about PIL. There's a new season of PIL coming up, right? Do you know when?
Mm-hmm.
Just to wrap that up, do you know when that happens?
I think it's either this weekend or next weekend. It's very soon.
Okay.
Hang on, wait. It won't take me too long to find out.
PIL news.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, no, I guess I can't. Yeah, it's either this weekend or next weekend, I think.
This signups were open until last week, so I guess it's soon. Yeah. Anyway, coming up soon. Whatever. So briefly, let's talk about what's going on with the EU spring scrims.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. What's the deal with
so
that?
this is when it comes to the teams which I mentioned earlier, right? They're kind of there's 4 teams: B-Hot, Ziz, etc. Well, they're also some of them are also playing in this event. So
they're more normal Euro hours, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So for Chill, which is kind of their roster name for PIL, is actually 1 kpm. Yeah, for this one.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And then I think Lex is the kind of that. So Lex is a mix between one of the backs, or perhaps even I think actually both of the backs teams and B Hot. So this is what I mean about them being friends, and actually they're quite quite
yeah. There's a lot of cross pollination. I can see that. Yeah. Makes sense.
And this tournament is it's interesting because the format is they've got an upper bracket and a lower bracket, and the upper bracket only consists of 4 teams. Which because of the skill gap, right? Again, another example of the skill gap. Only 4 teams in the upper bracket, 10 teams in the lower bracket. Although that is subject to change, I think the staff are looking at that. So we'll see. But for now, that's how it stands.
Okay.
And quite simply, it's a very similar tournament. The matches I think start. The matches start the weekend of the 7th of May. Okay. So I think PIL either starts this weekend or next weekend, but EU Spring scrims definitely start Friday, the 7th of May.
So is this EU Spring scrim event? It's a tournament.
Yeah, it's a tournament. Yeah.
Why is it called Spring Scrims? That sounds so. That's a weird sounding name to my ears.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tongue twister if you say it say it too quickly. Yeah, I'm not sure why they chose that. I think it's because they really wanted to differentiate themselves from PIL, because I think because the organizers are actually. I think there's some shared staff, but the organizers themselves are totally different.
Competition's healthy. Okay.
So, not sure I'd call it competition. I just call it probably an alternative, perhaps.
I think, but alternatives imply competition. If you see two kinds of cereal on the shelves, they're kind of competing for your attention. Although the different time zones and whatever. But yeah, no, I think it's a positive thing. I think it's actually super exciting. It sounds like we're probably about to have overlapping Planetside infantry tournaments going on over the next few weeks. Like both PIL and Spring Scrims are coming up. That this is going to be a really cool streaming event. And one of the things I love about Planetside, and especially like the Planetside Battles folks who rocked out on Outfit Wars, is just like there are so many veteran commentators and people doing the actual match coverage. Have you gotten involved in that at all, Dubnus?
For match coverage for EU Spring Scrims?
Well, for any of it, any of the infantry stuff.
Yeah, so I'm doing the EU. I know I'm co-casting if I want to the EU Spring Scrims.
Nice.
PIL, I think they have enough co-casters, although I was told that maybe there's one person they're going to get back to me, but then again I chased it up last night. I haven't gotten a reply, so who knows?
But you're trying to get on the mic. Love it. Okay.
Well, I've done a lot for Outfit Wars, right? With so for PSB, I casted 2 out of 4 of the gold matches.
Mm-hmm.
I did Soltech and Cobalt, and obviously I did the Lane Smash stuff as well. So co-casting isn't new to me, but 6v6, it's not. The reason why I haven't done it more for 6v6 is it's just been bad timing, or I've been playing in the tournament. Like it was impossible for me to co-cast the Invitational because number one, I was hella burnt out, and number two, just no, it would just feasibly it wasn't possible.
Yeah, man.
And then for PIL 2, I was retired, semi-retired, then not retired, then a co-lead of 2 outfits somehow.
Dude, you were
in a space
so busy.
of a month.
Jesus.
I don't know how that happened.
Okay. Well, I guess.
They just
I mean, people who know what they're doing are in high demand, I guess. So, where can people see these
if you find one of those people, let me know.
I'll keep my ear to the ground. Where can people actually find these casts? Are they done by Planetside Battles, or does it happen? Does PIL have its own tell me where people can
PIL
find this
stuff. PIL is its own kind of organization. They share a Discord, the Jaeger Events Discord. They share a Discord, but actually PIL is its own thing. They have their own Twitch. I think it's as simple as Planetside Infantry League. I think that's what it is. As for Spring Scrims, I'm going to have to double check this one because it is a new tournament. I don't think they have a Twitch. I don't know where they're going to be.
Okay. Well,
I think they will have a Twitch, or maybe they have one already, and I just don't know about it.
Sure.
But they'll be streaming it themselves probably, on their own Twitch.
Gotcha. Okay, makes sense. Well, hey man, I really appreciate you going through all this stuff with me because I've been meaning to catch up on this, and especially now that I know that there's actually coverage that's imminent. That's very exciting. Is there anything else that regarding PIL NA or EU Spring Scrims or just this competitive Planetside in general that you want to briefly mention before we move on?
Yeah, I'll have just a quick disclaimer before I go. I feel like I've only just barely scratched the surface, and it's been 40 minutes of talking.
Oh my god!
Because there is
okay.
Because there's so much that goes on, and there's so much history as well behind it all, which is also quite interesting to an extent. So yeah, I've only kind of just scratched the surface. So disclaimer on that. There's probably a key thing that I've missed, probably.
You can't cover it all in 40 minutes. We got it.
Thanks for all I do in PSP. I'm not PSP staff or anything. I just talk.
He just keeps himself busy.
I just talk. That's all I do, Deeg.
Hey, I can relate, brother. I really can.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Deeg. Please, if if you want to kind of go down the rabbit hole any further, let me know.
I know who to talk to. Great.
Yes, well, and if not, if I can't answer it, I definitely know someone who can.
Great. Well, thanks, Dubnus or Bolters, Big Planet Man, competitive Planetside player, caster, outfit leader, and my future one-stop resource for all things related to Planetside competition. Thank you, sir. Lovely
thanks
having you on, me. And we'll talk again, man.
That kind of cringes me out. That all those when you put it like that, I kind of that doesn't sit well with me.
That's okay. That's why I say
I'm just a person. That's all I am.
Aren't we all though? Aren't we all? Hey, is there anything you want to like promote? Do you have like a website or anything, or a Twitch people can follow?
Oh, definitely not.
Okay.
But thanks anyway.
Anyway, good,
have a good night.
See ya.
Peace.
Awesome. I've been so meaning to catch up on competitive Planetside with the infantry stuff specifically since Outfit Wars ended. So that was a very timely conversation. I think we have Lanzer here waiting in the wings. Let's see what Lanzer wants to talk about. Excuse me. Lanzer, my friend.
Hey, Deeg.
Hey. Hey, man. Nice to see you.
Likewise.
What do you want to talk about?
You know, I just finished your thing with A-Flick.
Okay.
And really interesting conversation. I didn't know A-Flick used to be Voodoo.
Yeah.
PCO. I had no idea that he started out in the quote-unquote Zerg fit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He did his humble beginnings.
Right, exactly right. And that he was a Skyguard warrior to defend in the Sunday. Dude, I was an armor player. I've been an armor player pretty much my whole... I was either in a max, an armor suit, or leading open platoons. And yeah, it's a thankless job trying to pull a Skyguard, defending the Sunder and all that. So I had no idea. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But and between that and your recursion talk, and the last time we spoke, I briefly mentioned how much respect I had for the Sale, Disenfranchised, and Therum. That Therum brought to the table, how much data goes behind their decisions. I actually didn't know that, and I've known them for a while.
Yeah.
Not personally, but I didn't know that Recursion Tracker was just a tip of the iceberg, but that explains a lot.
Yeah, they got a whole operation going on there, I think.
Yeah, they do, and I respect that big time. I think that's excellent.
High effort.
Exactly, and I'm not surprised either, knowing their roster and how they came to be. Like it makes a lot of sense that they would put that level of effort into it. So the two things I saw out of that and that I wanted to talk about were Zerg fits, elite fits, and particularly though, I'm gonna pivot from that. I posted in your Planetside chat
and the Discord. I saw you wrote. I didn't have time to read it all, but I saw you posted.
No, it's
something.
Okay. It's all right. It's an evolving thought.
But
when you were talking with A-Flick about 2 hours into it, 2 or almost 3 hours into it, you all started talking about the illusion of combined arms. And it really struck me how the difference between today and how we play and then back then. So I'm playing the Devil Dogs.
Right.
I've been a Devil Dog since 2013, I think. And before then, I was in CCG, Crazy Carnage Gaming, which was just as big as the Devil Dogs at the time before they imploded. And then we ended up going to First Strike, but that didn't last very long. And then we negotiated with the Devil Dogs and absorbed into them. So it was almost like a merger of sorts.
Word.
And the other half went to, I don't remember now, NSTF or whatever they were. But in any case, the way we used to play back then versus the way we play now was so different. I had forgotten all the ways that we used to play. And what I what I started thinking about was the Lattice really changed the way the Devil Dogs played. And particularly, I'm not exaggerating when I would say that we would operate multiple platoons a night. Garlock and Evil Pig were still very active, and there would be multiple platoons of infantry. There would be an entire platoon of our quick reaction team, an entire platoon of armor and air. Like, we had a genuine, the Marines call it a MU, Marine Expeditionary Unit. It's a whole fighting division, a
That's
brigade.
impressive. It's an active
Yeah.
organization. That's quite impressive.
It was intense, and I realized that, what was the difference? It's not just the user base. As Aflix said, it's not just they weren't just leaving because of one little thing, or that they were getting killed by Aflic with the Godsaw 20 times.
Right.
There were different reasons for it, but the thing that I really latched onto was when the Lattice changed, when we could no longer throw a quick reaction team far into the deep of TR to pull their resources so that we could then push our real objective. When we had to abide by that Lattice that threw us into a very specific point of contention, the chaos of war became a very predictable pattern, and all of our ingenuity disappeared.
So just give us a history recap, Lanzer, if you would. How was territory progression capture done before the Lattice system?
Before the Lattice, it was a free-for-all. You could take any territory you wanted anywhere on the map.
Okay.
If you could gal drop onto it, you could disrupt it. There was no locking of the points if you didn't have Lattice. There was no you could only attack a base that you had Lattice to.
Mm-hmm.
You could literally warp gate someone, take all of their territories surrounding the warp gate, and that the TR could own 95% of the map.
So interesting. So basically, there was no back line of battle. Like, you always had to fight over every single base.
Exactly. And that, to me, was much more realistic in an open world MMO FPS. The idea of everything is up for grabs, and the tactics that you had to apply in order to be a contender and to win was just astronomical. It required a lot of coordination and planning, and because of that, it was so much darn fun. We would have I still have all the videos of how we would fight for hours in open plains to try and punch through to get to Regent Rock or to get to Aeoni Labs. Like, those were hotbeds of activity all the time. And up there in Quartz Ridge, and over there in Mao and Howling Pass. Like, that was a real estate that you had to control if you wanted to push the fight to the next phase of the map. Or if you coordinated with another outfit, especially ones that specialize in deep territory drops, they would go throw a gal somewhere behind and try and cut off the supply route by taking a base in between the warp gate. So it was much more of a free-for-all in terms of what you could take. And because of that, I felt like it was a real war. It was as close to a real war as you could get in a video game. It didn't look like one, of course. Maybe Battlefield looked a little bit closer to present day reality.
Yeah, sci-fi.
But in terms of the chaos of war, the fog of war, you couldn't find a better one.
Okay. So why did that change?
I'm trying to recall why it changed. I'm sure there's a blog post out there from Higby or Smed talking about it. Memory serves that it had something to do with trying to not corral's the wrong word, try to provide structure to the fighting. I think the intention is that it was a little bit too chaotic, that the pendulum had swung too much in the direction of of no one knows what's happening, everything's going crazy.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. I'm recalling, you know, a few shows back, I covered some parts of an interview that Kid Riot did with Matt Higbee when he
Yeah.
was exiting the company during the Daybreak transition, and I think he mentioned something about the Lattice being implemented in order to give people clear lines of progression. Because, and I think if I remember what he said, it was something to the effect that people didn't know where to go or what to do. Like they didn't know where to find the fun in Planetside. And the Lattice helped define, okay, here are your lanes. Here's how you progress from a territory perspective. And if you follow the lines, you can find the fun because you can find a fight, you can find a conflict.
Yeah.
As opposed to, which is a much more like uh, on the great spectrum between like theme park and sandbox is more towards is moving towards the theme park side of things. Whereas what you describe, it sounds like it's like a really the role of an outfit that can organized is much more important when you don't have those kinds of restrictions because you need to have an organizing principle to help people find fun engagements. And if you're just a dude playing solo, like good luck. But if you're someone playing with the multi-platoon, I don't remember what you called it, uh, mobile infantry or whatever word you used, then all of a
Like a
sudden,
brigade?
like, I don't know, I'm having multiple thoughts here. One is maybe the Lattice was introduced to give people who played the game casually or solo more clear battle directions, but at the expense of giving outfit organization, like what you described, a less meaningful role in continental territory capture.
Yeah. To that end, as I was thinking about it, I don't think it just affected the Devil Dog. It clearly didn't just affect the Devil Dogs.
Right.
I remember coordinating on command with many different small outfits, and I'm trying to recall all their names. There were so many of them at the time. They're the same ones who participated in Server Smash.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I could find them, but there were so many like specialized drop infantry outfits. I recall one that we organized. See if I can pull up the live map. It's that base down south in the bottom middle of Endar, the one on the huge plateau, way up in the sky. The only way you could get to it at the time was a gal or grav lift.
Hmm.
Man, what's that base called?
Doesn't ring a bell. On Indar?
Yeah, on Imdar. It used to be a really important base to grab all the time. Hold on, just give me a second and I'll get to it.
Okay.
Scarred Mesa. That used
Yes,
to
of
be
course.
a vitally important base to grab because of how difficult it was to assault. So when we would get to Regent Rock and we had to look ahead of where we wanted to go, Tallrich, that's
Mm-hmm.
probably the place we needed to get to.
Mm-hmm.
To get there, we needed a springboard, which is Scarred Mesa. And while we were fighting probably Crossroads, trying to hold off TR or Vanu, we would call in command and ask for one of those specialized outfits if they were on. And they
Mm-hmm.
normally were. They were like 12 or 24 people. And we'd say, hey, can you help us crack Scarred Mesa? Can you drop on it? And they go, yep, no problem. We'll let you know when we dropped. And then we would have our air escort them in, or at least provide some sort of interdiction so that they wouldn't be interdicted.
Uh-huh.
They'd drop and crack it, and then we jump over them into Arroyo and Tallrich
Uh-huh.
to take the next part. Those outfits, like, we don't have that sort of discussions anymore. Command isn't like that. And
Yeah.
it struck me when you were talking to Aflick about it, like, that doesn't exist anymore.
Mm.
And it's not that the game evolved. It's that the game no longer rewarded that type of organization.
Mm-hmm.
I know where I need to go next. I don't really need to think very hard. There, honestly, Indar only has, I can count them on my hands how many choke points there are at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
It follows a very predictable pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no more prepping, not really. You could potentially throw an infiltrator squad onto, if you're at Vanu Archives and you need to go to Snake Ravine, you could say, hey, can you go there and prep the base for me? Flip the terminals, lay some mines, cause some problems so that it's it soften it up for us. But to me, that's very short term now. Whereas before it was, I need to look 4 or 5 bases ahead of me to see what I want to take a scoop out of.
Mm-hmm.
And what resources do I have at our disposal to try and crack that egg?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know the other commander sure as heck's trying to do that to me.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't do that. And it's not because of population. I mean, it definitely is an aggravating factor. But the gameplay doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I mean, if you take it makes what you suggest makes a lot of sense to me, man. I wasn't there during those days, so I don't have any anecdotal evidence. But if you have a free form system that gives players broader agency, then it makes sense that more differentiated roles emerge in the territory capture game. But if you shrink down the amount of player agency, then it just kills certain roles, and not just roles of individuals, but roles of outfits, roles of communities. Essentially, goes back to a question that was asked at the very start of my stream about loyal viewer Kai asked me what I thought defined an MMO, and for me, my definition is an MMO is a multiplayer online video game that provides interesting problems that require communities to solve. And it's a tough balance between finding something that has an acceptable level of friction for most players in terms of adoption versus leaving enough on the table for outfits to have agency over. And I can see that, right or wrong, it sounds like what you're proposing is moving from the hex system to the lattice system knocked out some of that agency, and that's
I do think that
kind of characterizes
right or wrong.
what you see as the current outfit territory game.
Yeah, and the way that you and Aflick were talking about the discussion, how the players will show you what the game is.
Yeah.
The players, they will tell you the better ways to play it, and it will give you an indication of, is that the way you want to go? Is that not the way you want to go? Did we intend for it to be like that? And like you said, right or wrong, they went for what they needed to go for. I don't fault them for it. I don't think I've ever thought about it in the light that really revealed that to me, that we would fight for hours over vast swaths of territory outside of the base, especially around Ayani Labs. I remember some of the best fights I've ever been in were in Vanguard units. We're talking many hundreds of players on each side trying to find the slightest weakness in their line of defense, gal dropping all the time to try and break through, shatter the line so that we could get to Crossroads. We would, Vanu Archives was very frequently in the way for many, thrusts and pulls. And even on Emerald nowadays with some of the higher pops, I don't see that same gameplay taking place. It's very it's very base driven, and I think to Aflick's point, where combined arms nowadays means everyone's combined against the infantry. When he said that, that's when it clicked for me. Like, that makes a lot of sense, because as a Vanguard unit, even when I'm still doing armor nowadays, in a Vanguard unit, we concentrate on the base now because that is the only point of contention. when the Mag Riders come around the corner, the Prowlers are on the hill, locking down, trying to suppress our route of advance. Then those are really fun events, but they happen very infrequently.
Yeah.
It's almost like we've compressed into a small radius around the base, and even in that concentration of armor is just, it feels like the infantry is getting punished no matter which way they go.
Yeah.
And that's true. When Affleck said that, I mean, gosh, that's so smart. That's exactly right. I never stopped to think, like, I don't care about the stretch in between Crossroads and Vanu anymore. The only thing I care about is how I can get across it. It's no longer, hey, we should set up here.
Yeah.
Right. How do we get to where they're redeploying?
Right.
And
it's the Lattice, and it's redeploy too. It's also the inflation over time of the number of spawn options people have, I'm guessing, all contribute to this change in literally the vehicle ecosystem. Like in a lot of ways, it sounds like the natural prey of vehicles in Planetside were wiped out, and so they had to find a new prey.
Right. That's right. And the Predator also. The Predator of air, of ground, which was air, and the Liberator. Oh my gosh, the Liberator was just. You saw a Liberator, you pointed all guns up in the sky, and you tried to knock that sucker out, or you called a local air unit who was specialized in air to come kill them, because if you didn't, they were just going to lay you out. It was like, a bunch of meerkats on the ground, and suddenly you see an eagle overhead. It was like that, but that was like the fear you felt, and the triumph you felt, and all the different varying sequences of gameplay. It was. I still look back on that time as that is what Planetside was. And the redeployment, I don't really have too many strong opinions about the redeploy side. I felt it went up and down, and I'm just not intelligent enough on the system to know how it influences the architecture.
Sure.
So I do recall that it used to be that there were a lot of spawn points. I just don't recall in comparison to today how that worked. But I do know the Lattice system fed me into a chute like I was cattle. And that's definitely what I feel like now.
Interesting.
You take Zervin, there's only two places you could go. You either go to Crimson Bluff or you go to Feldspar. Or you try to cut across Old Stockpile, go up to Rashnu if you're coming from the crown. Like the options, the agency is now, it doesn't exist.
So
I
started,
don't play the game as much.
Okay. You started off by mentioning that, it used to be before the Lattice, before maybe some of these other changes came through, that Devil Dogs ran multiple platoons, and you described this way of coordinating across the faction that seemed much more rewarding to the people who want to play the game strategically compared to what we have today. So it's clear things have changed, and you can debate the merits about whether it makes a better game. But what I'm curious is how it's affected the Devil Dogs specifically and the community overall. What's your impression? How's the community adapted to this change, and is it for the better, for the worse, or we're not sure?
I would say for all of what I think we lost, I'm sure that we've gained an immeasurable amount more. And it's hard for me to compare what we used to have based on compared to what we have now, because the game has changed so much. So what I can say is my gut instinct is I don't think I'm playing the same game in the sense of how I play it. I think the how is different. I think the what and the why is the same. And as far as the Devil Dogs, we definitely had our glory days, and we haven't given up. But we have felt the tangible effect of a population decrease on Connery in general. and it's definitely affected our activity. Like if you look on Outfit Tracker, we have an activity percentage of 8% with 1,300 members. You know, that's a little under 120 people in a 30-day period. And while some of the other outfits close to our size, you know, they fluctuate up and down, mostly up. We've been in the game so long that, you know, we've seen these storms a bit before. So we know that we can weather it, and we will continue to.
There's a cycle, a little bit.
Yeah, there's a well-trod path that we've. It's very cyclical, although it's definitely difficult to maintain what we've been doing for a long time. Sometimes we have trouble fielding even a platoon, and that can be very tough to swallow, knowing what we used to be like, and it wasn't for lack of trying that we are where we are now. So in terms of just overall gameplay, like our outfit, we struggle with the fights that don't exist like they used to, which then decreases the fun. And the Devil Dogs has always been, you know, we want to have fun. Don't be jerks and have fun as much as you can. And I've always said, to me personally, that the goal of the goal of the Devil Dogs was always to conquer continents by employing all elements of gameplay in an organized and disciplined fashion. That's been like our mantra for a long time, even if it wasn't exactly said like that. And our ability to do that is severely decreased to the point where, you know, instead of having 2-3 platoons of infantry, we have maybe a couple squads. And we've had to adapt just like everybody else has. And I think to tie it off, what you were asking is, we're not in as good a place as we used to be. The game has changed a lot, and I don't think it's all for the worse either. I think there are a lot of good things that's come over the years. I look forward to the Devil Dogs, I look forward to helping to build the game as best we can back to those levels where people come in, the new player experience matches the expectations that they had when they saw the trailers. So it's really a lamentation that things aren't what they used to be. But that's not all terrible news.
Yeah, and they never could be the same way they used to be, right?
True.
Even if the hex system was still in, even if your deploy side weren't a thing, Planetside would still be an 8.5-year-old game.
Yeah.
And these things just go this way over time.
Though with EG7's involvement, I think that's great news, and it's probably going to change for the far better, but that's a different topic.
It is a different topic, and it's an interesting one, and I hope we do see further amplification of RPG's power to bring us more Planetside. That's an exciting potential. Anyway, man, interesting reflection, dude. I think that's a really, really great anecdote, a really great community anecdote and reflection on how the game has changed and how that affects its communities. I guess I do have one question for you that's kind of related to this topic, which would be, did the Devil Dogs participate in Outfit Wars at all?
We did, yes. Yo, Aflick, what's up, man?
Hey, there you are, Aflick. We're just talking about you.
Bro, I didn't know you were a Voodoo Company. And then I looked back at my old PSP records, and yeah, man, you were VCO all the way, bro. Right on. Little Skyguard warrior.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I got distracted there for a second.
No worries, man. Yeah, we were talking about Lanzer had just watched the podcast you and I did last year, and talking about how you mentioned that when arms are combined in Planetside, they don't fight each other; they tend to fight infantry, and how that kind of affects the game. And Lanzer was reflecting on how he saw that change really when he noticed that when the hex system went away in favor of the lattice system, that was one of the things that seemed to change in aggregate. We've just been kind of talking through that and what that looked like, and
Super old leadership. I would no. I don't lead the Devil Dogs. I've always been Devil Dog after CCG, but I was too involved in PSB to really advance through the upper echelon of the Devil Dogs. Yeah, man. So I was pretty much armor the whole way, and recently, I've been helping build up our base building team. So to your question, yes, we were involved in outfit wars, and we made it to the second bracket, I believe. We faced off against Recursion and R18, or is it S3SXI, one of them. But we faced off and we lost that bracket, and then we were booted out. But we went into it trying to put in our style of gameplay, and we encountered resistance we weren't expecting. We had never seen the map before. Went into it. I had our base builders ready to go, and then as we were building the base, a Colossus rounds the corner, and our entire armor team was AA. It was all anti-air, and they weren't expecting the Colossus, and the Colossus just ripped through everything, destroyed our base, destroyed the Sky Guards, and then when the Sky Guards went down, we had underestimated. Yeah, we had underestimated the importance of the 2-minute timer, and I really didn't understand what that meant until I casted the gold match with Archie a few weeks ago, and dang, if you start flipping that first base before the other does, you can interrupt them before they conquer their first base, and
you can really fuck with people.
Yeah, it was so important. But yeah, we went into it thinking that we were be able to apply, and we were humbled, and come the next outfit wars, we'll adapt and overcome.
Is it your impression that outfit wars had a positive impact on your outfit in general? What do you think?
So.
How do you feel about that? Okay.
The Devil Dogs has always had a interesting perspective when it comes to things like server smash and outfit wars. Is we want to participate, but not at the expense of our community. And what I mean by that is we're a community where we want to have fun and we want to enjoy the game. And our leadership has always been reticent to apply to allow that competitive spirit to gain a cancerous foothold to where it fractures the Devil Dogs. And we've seen that play out. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers Havoc, not to call them cancer or anything, but they were an offshoot of RRT, which is our rapid reaction team. RRT has always been, they've taken the game very seriously. They're like the Sky Reapers of I think Fear has them. But they take the game very seriously. And at some point, they grow in size to where they say, okay, we'd like to go do our thing now. We've probably had, I don't know, half a dozen offshoots, of which Havoc was one of them, because we decided as an outfit we didn't want to employ the competitive spirit to the extent that it would cause division.
Okay.
So, fun fact, one of the reasons why I founded Server Smash was to get my outfit in and showcase their skill across a large competitive match. That was one of the reasons why I founded it with Doster and Alleluia. And I tell this story not quite a bit, but whenever it comes up, because when I went to Evil Pig and Garlock at the time, I said, hey, I think I created this thing and I really want you guys to be one of the first ones to participate. They said, we see this was right off the heels of what Derringer was doing with Luperza and MLG, and they said, we're not really sure, we don't want to participate in that because of what we've seen happen with MLG. We don't want to invite that into the outfit, and they were so big at the time, we were so big and active that it didn't really, it made sense. And because it's kind of conflicted with some of our ops.
Huh.
So the Devil Dogs itself looked at Outfit Wars, looked at MLG, looked at Server Smash, and said, we'll do it if we can, if there are volunteers, but we don't want to push it at the expense of what we believe is our fundamental.
What's your bread and butter? Yeah.
Right. And our outlook, our mentality.
So would you say that, how would you characterize the Devil Dogs' approach to ideas like self-improvement and individual mastery?
We have trainings all the time, but not as much as we used to. We used to have air training, infantry training, armor training, and we would have beginner training, we'd have advanced training, we'd have leadership training, we'd have ops training, which is how do you, as an ops commander in charge of 4 or 5 platoons, take a continent.
Right.
And you had to be ops certified before you could command an entire platoon's worth of Devil Dogs.
Okay.
So the self-improvement game is strong with this one. Our membership hasn't been quite as active as it has in recent years, so that training has now become ad hoc.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not exaggerating when I say our standard operating procedures for some things are over 55 pages. It's just, and that's just for one type of training.
Okay, that's impressive sounding.
We have a very deep reservoir of self-improvement, and we just don't, we guard the fun aspect as best we can. We have morale checks all the time to make sure that people are enjoying the game, and we adjust as needed.
If people want, if let's say I'm a Devil Dog, and if I wanted as a Devil Dog to take the game a little more seriously, a little more competitively, what kind of, what I'm finding interesting, just to give you a peek inside my brain, is before talking to you, I was talking to Dubnus, and we were talking all about the value of competition and the drive to self-improvement and how good that is. And it's so interesting to hear a perspective. It's like, we're trying not to be too competitive because it can cause division. I think that is such an interesting, different perspective, which I'm sure is really based on context factors and things like that. I'm just trying to unpack, like, what those different attitudes are, and if they're different or just different ways of saying the same thing. I'm curious if you have a reflection on that.
That reminds me of the conversation you had with Recursion. I think it was Sale.
Okay.
At the time, who was speaking, and he was talking about ghost capping. And again, I really appreciated hearing Sale, Disenfranchised, and Therum's perspective. It really was, that was really fun. But Sale was talking about how at the time, if I can find it, I know I wrote it down. Here it was. It was about 2 hours in, and he was talking about ghost. Yep, he was talking about ghost capping and how he didn't think that. Oh, that's why I was in the wrong place. There we go. Ghost capping is when no one is there to fight, and sometimes it's a necessary part of the game. Oh, that's what I said back. I wrote a whole thing back to it, like in my own thoughts as I was reflecting. Okay. Right now,
if you can't find it, that's okay. You can just summarize.
Yeah, I'm trying, because it was very relevant the way he said it, and it was something to the effect of, ghost capping hurts the game, if I recall correctly. And I don't disagree with that sentiment, and it can be very unfun. But my thought was, coming from a Devil Dogs, I'm born and bred in the Devil Dogs, and we are, when we look at maps, we want to take continents. How do we conquer the continent? And we have all different methods to do that. But it used to be, ghost capping ghost capping was what happened when the enemy commander wasn't paying attention to the map. It wasn't that there was no one there to fight. It's that you didn't notice you had a weak link in your front line, and I exploited it. And that's what the war was. The war wasn't let's see how many kills we can get in one match. It wasn't for us. It was, how do we take this territory from you so that I could take the next territory from you?
Yeah. It's like a free lunch. Why wouldn't you take it?
Yeah,
it's silly not to.
And to me, it was so interesting the way Sale said it, because it made sense. It made sense that nowadays it takes away from the game, and it's not fun.
Because the game has
us,
changed.
It was a necessary part of war.
Right.
And taking your territory, which we know you don't want to give us, and it created this tension point between playing the game for fun and fighting a war. And the way we navigated that, we've always navigated it, was the fun comes first. The discipline and the organization comes second. But you never sacrifice the discipline and the organization. It never goes away. We will always do so in as disciplined fashion as we can, maintaining all sorts of communication methods we've brought up and created. And in doing so, we've established a level of consistent and predictable fun and we know when that's sliding during the match, and that we need to move to a different place. Yeah, it's a very different mentality, and I respect the opposite. And I think A-Flick, once I heard his background, I think he was in a good place to talk about both, and I really liked hearing that.
Definitely.
That was a little bit of a diatribe. I don't know if I fully answered your question.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm very passionate. I'm very, very passionate about it, and I've always wanted to, like, just the thing between the large outfits, the small outfits, the skill balls, the Zerg fits, the elite fits, big grugs, little grugs, that whole genre fascinates me. It always has.
The not just the game itself, but the kind of cultural battle that plays out between the different ways of playing the game, different ways of organizing it, different ways of approaching it. The everything you just described about how the old, and A-Flick, I think, used the word old school, different mentality, and he even said he misses it. The old focus on territory, and what the picture I'm hearing being painted by you and A-Flick a little bit, and just a lot of things I've pieced together over time, is that really, like, people really bought into Planetside as an infantry game. I'm sorry, I said the word infantry. That's a Freudian slip. As a territory game early on. Like people really bought into it. But over the years, it seems like the community that's stuck around has less and less gravitated towards the territory game. And now we live in a place where people see ghost capping not as like free territory, like getting like free kills. Why would you not get free kills? It's ridiculous. You wouldn't pass that up.
Yeah.
But people see it as ghost capping. People see it as degenerate. People complain. I've complained about people who aggressively pop Sunderers at fun fights. Because to me, I'm not trying to win the alert. I'm trying to have fun playing Planetside. And having fun playing Planetside means having stable spawns near a relatively balanced fight. Or one where I'm outnumbered, but by players who are worse than me. Which, let's be honest, there aren't that many.
I've seen you play, though. You sneak around people and you nail them right from behind. They're not even expecting.
I'd rather be lucky than good. A-Flick says Server Smash is the one thing that brought them all together. Rolling out from the Warp Gateway base with gals or convoys was dope. You'd like capturing bases and getting kills, like a good mix. Yeah.
It was like all three of those statements are their own discussion points. Like Server Smash, I felt that exact same thing. Like I would not have been good friends with some of the future crew people if it weren't for Server Smash. If I didn't have to be put at crossroads with them, because early on I ate the cake. I drank the Kool-Aid that future crew was someone to hate. that they were, I didn't ever stoop to the fact that I thought they were hackers, but it was like they took
I'm
this
in Future
game.
Crew.
Are you really?
Yeah, my Connery character, my Connery Vanu
No
main.
way, dude. That's
right.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like back in the days of Scourge and
Yep.
oh gosh, who's the other one?
Shock.
Yeah, I loved them. I love both of them, and I even interviewed Shock back when I was writing articles. It's still on MMOgames.com, I think. And but yeah, people like them who I'd never encountered except on the map, and even then they, we would be concerned. We would concern ourselves with higher level things. You know what I mean? And Service Smash brought us all together, and it brought me down. It brought me down to a level. It humbled me, I'd say. It took my ego where I thought, I'm not worried about kills. I'm worried about taking territory. It's like that. And there's a certain ego there where the devil dogs can field multiple platoons. What do you got? Like a squad? Like brush aside, fool.
Yeah.
but
I feel that. Hey, real quick, shout out to CmdrCyrious, who just raided with him and his Cyrious army. Is Mrs. Cyrious raiding with us too, Commander? I saw you doing it up domestic style on the stream.
Yeah.
I got to go back and watch that VOD, man. I was so tempted to turn on my stream off and just watch you guys.
And shout out to Cyrious too, who used to be a PSB rep and did a lot of organization and really did so much good for Connery. So shout out to you, man.
Good old Patty Fathead.
Yeah. When he told me he was Patty, I about dropped it. I was floored, man. Patty and I, we go back. He was one of the reasons why we were able to expand the fairness doctrine in a reasonable way. Like his conversation that we had on Reddit when we told them that we would be expanding the fairness doctrine, it played a very valuable role in helping me shape what we were going to turn it into. Anyways, so yeah, Server Smash brought us a lot of people together that wouldn't have ever been seen in the same room, and it was for the better. It was so cool. And then his second thing, rolling out from the warp gate with gals and convoys, there was a statement to be made when you did that. Back then, it was kind of one of the only things you could do if you had a lot of people. But there was like what would you say? It was something in society. It was like gosh, what's the word? You were like a high roller. It really showed
a status symbol.
Power. Yeah, there you go. It was a status symbol to do that.
Okay.
And it was just like you're rolling out with your bros and your fellow planet people, and you've got like 7 to 10 gals all lined up in formation, and it's just the flying V. It was so cool. And then his third message was, I like capturing bases and getting kills. And yeah, I mean, I like getting kills with the rest of them, and mainly in my Vanguard, but I can't measure up. I can't measure up with those thumbs, Flick. You got me, man.
Good shit, dude. Good shit. Well, Lanzer, thank you for dropping in, man. Always fun catching up. Thank you for sharing your thoughts about the hex stuff. I'm gonna have to meditate on that a little bit. And as always, good talking. I think we're gonna recycle and see who else wants to hop in the chat.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right on. But thanks, Deeg.
Yeah, take it easy, dude. Cyrious, what's up, my friend?
Okay, I'm back, Deeg.
Hey, there he is.
Sorry.
You saved me from answering an awkward question.
No, I'm sorry, Deeg. I've got too many setups going. Anyways,
I sympathize.
Good to see you, man. Miss Cyrious here as well.
Hey, Miss Cyrious, how are you? Did you get some kills?
I got 1 kill. It was
nice.
A good night. Oh my goodness.
What was your weapon of choice?
She got 1 kill in a max. It was the Crabman. It was the high heels that did it, babe.
It was the high heels. You're right. It was all my squad, and I just hit a button when the time called for it.
There you go. Hey, it's all about getting that last hit in. So congrats.
So Deeg, we are going for the workout stream tomorrow. So if you're around at all,
some IRL content.
Yes, we are going for. If she gets a kill, I do 100 reps. If I get a kill, she does 1. So we'll see how it is.
That is hype. That's hype. When's that happening?
Tomorrow night.
Cool.
We're doing it.
Oh,
cool.
great.
I'm definitely going to tune in for that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Spiffy was yelling at me, so we want to come by and say hi. I would imagine you're near the end as yours as well, but good to see you, man.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for dropping by. It was good touching base. Man.
You're wonderful, by the way.
Why, thank you.
We love you, man.
Right back at you guys.
Flick, we do. I get to, it's like 25% presses, 25% push ups, 25% dips. I get to mix it up before I'm too wrecked. Sorry, answering your chat a little bit there, Deeg.
No, do it, dude. It's all good.
Flick, we'll look forward to your Planetside too.
I want to see that too. Like let's get it going. This is inspiring to me.
Cram a bench into your office there. Don't worry, the wife won't mind at all. And do it. Anyways, have a great night, Deeg. We'll catch you soon, man.
See you, Serious. See you, Miss Serious. Have a good night. Always good hearing from Serious. Solid gent. Solid lady. I wonder what it would take to get my wife to come on stream with me. I'll have to ask her. Mrs. Deeg. I don't know if she'd like to be called that, to be honest. What does Mrs. Deeg like to do? She's a creative soul. She's always getting up to new and interesting stuff. We spent a few years playing an MMO together before she moved on from gaming. A vital experience because I showed her why gaming was cool. And now she understands when I play video games and talk to people about video games online. Zoe would literally kill you. I want to see that. That's more fascinating to me. It is it's hard enough like juggling real life and a family and a job and then trying to make time to stream, but it's a unique hell when you try to fit in time to stream and it's like your support structure like is not quite understanding what it is you're doing. I don't know. That's tough. I've been there many, many times. Your wife isn't there yet. You're working on her. There you go. Chat's like hot tub streams. I'm like, yeah, no, that wouldn't work. Hot tub stream. I have a feeling that'd be right up Spiffy's aisle. Spiffy, you want a hot tub stream? Spiffy, I'll answer your question. Let me think about it, though. So the body swapping question? And then the waking up in bed question. Well, if I woke up in Sirius's bed, I'm presuming it'd be pretty uncomfortable. Because I'm a big dude. Between me and him and his wife, I imagine it'll be pretty full. Probably one of us would fall out. The body swapping question, I would geek out over Sirius's setup. I think his streaming setup is seriously cool. All the little like the little set he has where he does his discussions and the command center. And I want to spend a day just streaming in his setup. I think that would be really fun. I just hijack it. I'd be evil serious, or no, I'd have to create an alter ego to stream as. Commander Why So Serious? I don't know, something. I'd figure something out. Lanzer, to respond to what you said up about connecting to my musings, I mean, most of what I tell you guys is stuff I've already run by my wife in one way or another. Like, we always talk to each other about our stuff, even though it's totally different stuff. She is my number one biggest, most important member of my audience. Absolutely. She doesn't watch my content. She gets to hear me give it to her in summary. Yeah, she's super supportive, even though what I do is definitely not her jam, which is really a pretty beautiful thing. Let's see. Deeg wife. Your wife will ask you too, but it's not her jam. Yes, it's all about the mutual support, dudes. Like, my relationship with my wife, I've known her for 12 years. And we've been living together for 10. And our relationship today looks nothing like what it looked like even 5 years ago. It's crazy how much things change, but are still getting better all the time. So we don't ask you shit. Oh man, you got to work on that, Ave. Like, she doesn't get like excited over you killing dudes with your saw and flashing your guns. That gets me excited, dude. Maybe it's just a guy thing. Deeg, you know what I think you would love to talk to? Rumbletough, leader of the wild cards on Connery. Rumbletough, huh? He runs the outfit blind with his what? Like wait, literally blind? Show her your golden anchor. Oh man, I had no idea about that. Spiffy, how would I connect to Rumbletough? That's a person I'd love to be connected to, even if it's just offline. Sounds like an interesting story. He lost his sight. His wife now plays the game for him while he talks to his... Oh my god. What an act of love. I'm astonished by that. It's making me tear up thinking about that. Oh, shit. That's a beautiful thing right there. Well, ladies and gents, I'm going to go refresh my drink. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Hang tight. Oh, okay. We're back. Young says, a few weeks ago you were in a squad with a bunch of pilots. There was a deaf girl flying a solo lib. Wow. It's just... I feel like when all you see is some stranger's name on the other side of the battlefield, it's so easy to make a lot of assumptions about him. Like, oh, he's a sweaty heavy, or oh, he must be raging, or oh, whatever. But you don't know what people's stories are. You just don't fucking know. There's a real person behind every one of those names. Hey, thanks, Biffy. I'll give that a check when I'm offline. Thank you for that. I agree with Lanzer, by the way. We need to see more Afflick Schachter podcast. Love to see you guys tackle some more stuff. Hey, Spiffy, you're probably not going to do it right now. I mean, if they want to come talk to me, they can. I just don't want to impose. Also, we don't know each other yet. Hey, well, I'll trust you, Say what you need. Say what you think is right. You know me. I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. Word. I appreciate the force multiplication. Okay. So I know that there were a couple questions from earlier that I didn't get to while I was talking to Dubnus, all about the Planetside Infantry League and the EU Spring Scrims. Let me see if I can find those. Young, you change your opinion on a lot of people by just playing with them, not against them. There it is. Big truth right there. How do I see older Twitch chat? Do I have to actually load up the VOD to do that? I need a better way of handling these things. Okay. Good night, Aflick. Thanks for dropping on by, dude. Lanzer, good game. We're going to hit up a couple of these questions, probably call it a relatively short stream tonight. My pleasure, Lanzer. Young, turns out there are a lot of cool dudes in the air, but when they're smacking you out of the air with a Dalton, maybe slightly harder to see their personality. So true. Okay. All right, here's a question earlier from the Kai asked, which I'll go ahead and answer. I'm just going to drop it here in the chat. Kai asked, have you ever played Planetside 2 on max settings? And if you could get the same level of technical performance, frame rates, input lag, etc., would I? Or is the visual clutter too off-putting? I have not played Planetside 2 on max settings since 2015, right when I started playing the game. Pretty much as soon as I figured out I could get higher frame rates with potato settings, I went straight for it. And this is not a new thing for me. For 15 years leading up to playing Planetside, I've always done this with video games. Multiplayer games, especially shooters, always go for performance. To answer your question, though, like as someone who's doing more creator type stuff, I set it to ultra whenever I'm doing observer cam stuff. And actually, I actually have some other live content that I'm thinking about doing, where I might be running the game on ultra settings as well, that are not going to be because it won't heavily require me to have Twitch setting like Twitch reflexes. But generally, I want max visibility and minimal input lag kind of guy. Although Planetside does look good with ultra settings. I think one of the projects I want to take on is trying to find more of like a halfway setting where I can get some of that ultra bling. Like to get like 80% of the payoff with 20% of the performance cost, like that kind of thing. See if that's possible to do. Young, you playing ultra ever since you built your PC. 1080 is holding its ground well, at least for now. Word. Okay. What else do we have here? Okay, Pibble asked me a question. Here's Pibble. Pibble asked, why are players terrible in Planetside 2 than Rage tell you when you kill them? Any theories? My theory is that rage tells are a natural consequence of interfaction communication, freedom from consequences, and PvP. This kind of stuff happens in every single PvP game where you can communicate across the aisle. Pretty simple. A good rage tell is pretty fun, though. I will say that. Probably frustration, feeling on being helpless, being banshee farmed. Yeah. Yeah, like there are tons of things that can make people feel upset, frustrated. Planetide's a game that's in some ways very good at that. All right, let's do one more call-in. Hello, Spiffy. You're on the stream.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I hear you fine.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, dude. What do you want to talk about?
I was thinking. So, I have a little bit of an unpopular opinion. Well, I don't know if it's popular or not, but
we'll find out.
I don't think Planetside should be going in the sandbox direction. I think it should be a sandbox light. I think Planetside would probably benefit more if it was more teamwork focused, where every action a player does affects the game. You know what I mean? Like right now, some of the things I've noticed in the last updates, you go to something, you press X, and you get XP. It doesn't affect the game in any way. And I know that they're easier to design. Like I've heard people talk about building these pipes that you have to fuel with cordium and stuff to bases. That would give more purpose. But I understand that's more difficult to design than, just going to a terminal and pressing X. But I wanted to hear about that. What are your thoughts on the sandbox part of Planetside?
So let's get our terms squared away. When I think of sandbox, I think of I think of a very broad term. It's a way to describe a way of creating a game that's based on giving players tools over giving players experiences. The idea that the tools given to the players will create their own experiences. So it's a high agency model of kind of developing and shepherding a game forward. And I usually see that as opposite to a theme park style game, which is more based on giving players the right experiences and is usually more locked down. There are usually fewer ways to color outside the lines, less overall stuff to engage and get in trouble with. Is that what we're talking about when you say sandbox, or do you mean something different?
I think so.
Okay.
I thought sandbox is basically you just grab a bunch of toys and just do whatever, and stuff don't really affect other things. You know what I mean? Like what I think is teamwork is like bringing a Sunday and deploying it to I forgot what they're called, a Sunday room, a Sunday spawn,
a garage or whatever.
Garage.
Sure.
That helps the entire team. Your faction is a team, even if you're playing solo. Like when I pull a heavy and I'm killing players like crazy, I'm helping out my team by killing those other players, even if you're playing solo. I think that's like teamwork oriented. I don't think you necessarily have to be in a squad or a platoon in order to help out your team.
True.
So yeah. I also want to say I've never done this before. I've never been in an audience. And on top of that, I have ADHD and hyperactivity, so I'll do my best to pay attention.
We're brothers in arms, bro. I have ADHD as well.
Yeah, I have to like really focus in order to retain what you're saying. So apologies if I mess up.
I sympathize. ADHD comes in all kinds of forms.
Yeah,
I don't know how yours works, but for me, in order to get through these streams, like this for me is what I think of as an act of hyper focus. Like this is not my default state doing this kind of stuff, and I need to keep a constant supply of caffeine. And at a certain point in the stream, I convert over to sugary drinks because raising my blood sugar helps power the part of my brain that allows me to focus. I've been nerding out over ADHD shit in the last year. I'm sure we could have a conversation about that, but let's not get too distracted. The question you posed, and by the way, welcome to first time on stepping up and being on Twitch. That's great. I love to hear from people where they've talked 1,000 times or just once. So that's awesome. But again, to get back to your question about what's good for the game. And you were asking about, I think I would like to better understand when you say sandbox interactions like pressing F on something that don't contribute to the team. Maybe you can give me some more examples of what you see those things being so I can get a better feeling for what it is you think we should get away from.
All of the a lot of the mission stuff right now, they are designed, they're aimed to encourage fights. Like I forgot what they're called. All I remember was the one where you go to a terminal, you press X, and it gives you a little piece of lore.
Oh yeah, the campaigns, right?
Yeah. The campaigns and the side missions, and the like stabbing the plants was a big one. Going to a terminal, pressing
Infamous.
X.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What happens when you do those things is it didn't change the game in any way. You know, it's not like bringing asunder and creating a spawn for your entire faction. It's not like bringing a router and like changing the battle flow in an instant. Like I believe there has been times when players where one player was able to switch the tides of an alert because they brought in something. Like they either threw that C4 that destroyed that last push, or they brought in that router at that last second. You know what I mean? And that's super cool.
Yeah.
These things are, I mean, initially they brought fights. You know, like that mining tower that comes down, and you sit.
Yeah, the mining laser thingy. Those are interesting.
Yeah. But the problem is it didn't provide any to the rest of the faction. So now it's just one or two vehicles just sitting there now.
I get it.
And I don't hate the developers for this and stuff. I just feel like I think this is easier to design than obviously redesigning creating a whole new system that affects the entire continent. You know what I mean? So I understand, but I feel like this is going to hurt. You know, I don't feel like this is going to help long term. Another thing is I'm going to bring up an old topic. Were you here when the infamous Dalton nerf happened?
I don't think I was playing at the time. No.
Okay, so there on the Liberator, there's a Dalton in the center on the underbelly, and it one-shots ESFs.
Right.
That was recently nerfed because of the fear of players leaving. I think some players did leave in terms of new players driving pilots. It was a deterrent. I think I encourage the developers to consider balancing in a new light. Instead of buffing, nerf, or change, what about educate? What about incentive to educate? You know what I mean? For an example, instead of nerfing or buffing the Dalton, you could perhaps teach the new player how to barrel roll in an ESF, teach the new how to dogfight in an ESF, how to burst fire, how to go up and go down really fast. You know, that, I mean, like that's what made the Dalton super fun, is when it was satisfying because skilled in that way. And I want to go into something even more depth.
Do you want me to respond to either of those first? I still think that
Sorry.
No worries, dude. This is how my mind works too. I love tangents, but maybe I can give you my because the first topic you brought up is a complicated one about the introductions of things like campaigns and some kind of forms of gameplay for Planetside that don't feel like the way Planetside has always felt. Like it feels like you're doing something different, like when you're pressing F on a terminal to progress like story campaign. It's like, okay,
stabbing
whatever.
Plants.
Like, this isn't going to help my faction capture the continent. This doesn't feel like Planetside. What's going on here? Yeah, I get that,
or
and I think it's a fair assessment. Now, the way I frame that, though, for me, is what I see, and this is from having spoken with Raul. I talked about this on the podcast last year, actually.
Yeah,
and it's about trying to find a new way. I see. Let me try to think of the right words to frame this. My understanding is that the campaign and mission content is not for us. It's to help players just starting the game get on board and get hooked in and help find some of the fun of the game.
Yeah.
I don't think it does that job very well yet.
And that's the sandbox part of the game that I don't agree with. To give you an example, I think would be really fun. Have you heard of Speed Freak on Connery? Remember that? You know that dude, Speed Freak?
No, I'm not familiar.
There is slow playstyle. I mean, different types of playstyles in the game already that provides a more casual experience. However, still maintains that goal of teamwork play. The example is long-range snipers. You can sit by a rock and pick shots. And the other example is the Hunter QX Bolt. You really love this, by the way.
I love the
I remember you
crossbow.
saying,
One of my favorite
yeah,
guns.
the crossbow. Crossbow knife combo is just stupid.
It's so fun.
Speed Freak does that. That's his main play style, and he's really hard to kill because he does it with a stalker cloak, as you could imagine, and he's very patient. I feel like if the developers want to provide those type of experiences, they can do so. And they have examples of that right now, you know. I think what needs to happen is perhaps a way to educate these players on these interesting synergies. You know, like right now you have to experiment, you have to like discover it yourself. Maybe if there was a mission or a directive that said, hey, try to get a kill using the QX bolt combined with the knife, and they'll be like, wait, how do I do that? And then they're going to realize it, and they're like, oh. Or try to get a few pot shots with the sniper long range. And the thumper is another example. There's people that have disagreements with the thumper, but I feel like it can be countered with teamwork. A lot of the problems with this game can be countered with teamwork. The problem is there's no education.
How do you find the teamwork? Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah, let me jump in and offer a few first introductory thoughts.
Sorry, I'm passionate. I'm passionate about
all good, dude. All good, dude. That you need that. But you were about to talk about recursion, and I think that's exactly where I was starting to take the question of how do you expose new playstyles to players. Well, recursion, the overlay and stat tracker, has this kind of achievement system where it tracks in-game events and it gives you audio callouts. If you get headshots, it'll say headshot out loud, and that if you're using recursion, gives you a kind of tiny incentive to game for headshots. It tells you it's a good thing. Also, it does stuff like if you get on a kill streak, it gives you a really cool audio call out. If you do certain interesting in-game events, like in that way, that community creation helps people who use it identify fun moments and emphasize fun moments. And you can even have a system in Planetside that was like that would say, oh, so let's say that you did land a crossbow knife combo, and there was a call out like that, and then there was an achievement in Planetside that said get a crossbow knife combo kill, and then a little video you could watch that showed you how it's done.
Yeah, gifts.
Right? A simple GIF. Like there are all kinds of ways like that to show off those interactions. And right now, Planetside relies heavily on its community to show those things off, which is, I mean,
it's a blessing and a curse, in my opinion.
I think you've said that very well. I think that's very, very accurate. And hopefully, we're with the work we're doing here, we're making it more of a blessing.
Yeah.
But I gotta think some about your question about the sandbox earlier. I really think Planetside is trying to figure out if there are meaningful ways to expand what Planetside is that can help grab an audience who maybe likes Planetside a little, but if it had just a little bit of something else in it, would like it a lot. You know what I'm saying? like to have just that much more to convert people. If there was episodic story content that kind of created fun, unique gameplay that changed over time. One of the games that I play, Spiffy, is Guild Wars 2. Actually, it has a new release tomorrow that I'm going to be streaming on my channel. And the only reason I really played anymore is because every 3 or 4 months they have drops of story content that I can log in and play and experience. And even though I don't play the game day to day anymore, I'll still drop in because, oh, the game has changed in some way. Let's check out the change. And if it's really good, I'll just play for a few weeks or maybe even a few months. If the content is really good and it's repeatable and makes me want to reconnect with people who play the game. If it's not really good, I'm done in a few hours and I move on. But it's low cost for me to check this out. And I think that Planetside is trying to, with the campaign system, they're trying to see if that can work for Planetside. I don't think it's a yes yet. It's a work in progress, but I'm pretty excited to see what the next campaign drop is going to look like, especially because we know it's going to give us the construction site, which I'm not sure if you're excited about it, but I know I am.
Yeah, I need to dabble in more construction. I try it a little bit.
Containment site. Containment site, not construction site. I always do that.
Yeah. Containment site. Yeah, I'm excited for that too. I feel like they can achieve this goal with, again, educating educating on these very unique systems. I don't see a lot of people trying these little, these little cool stuff. And I feel like it could definitely work. Another problem, I don't know if this is moving on to a different topic or not, but a lot of people complain about the banshees, the hammers,
Air to
the
ground.
hash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, and again, this will take more work, sure, because you need to provide a purpose. But I feel like air and tanks, infantry has the content, and I feel like I picture it in my mind as as two people hungry for food, and they're trying to get that food off of this one person, which is infantry. Infantry has all the content. I have over 2,500 hours in infantry. I'm an infantryman.
Word.
And ESFs don't have that, and tanks don't really have that. So they're like screaming, "Hey, hey, I
Where's
need
my lunch?
kills. Yeah, where's my lunch? I'm hungry." So instead, they're eating our lunch because we have all the lunch. They don't.
Dude, that is
To get
so
their
smart.
own lunch,
I like that.
huh?
I think
Oh
you're
yeah,
right.
I love to make analogies. I'm great at it. I try to. Well, apparently I'm great
Do
at
go
it.
on.
People tell
Say more.
So I feel like, to go back to the pipe thing, again, this is going to be a lot of work if the developers want to do this. But like, for an example, these pipes could be defended or destroyed by vehicles only. So then that means, like, the goal would be to try to give away and provide a way where you can be a vehicle 24/7. There's something always there for you. For infantry, there's stuff always there for us. We always have a base to cap. There's always a fight for us.
Yeah.
For vehicles, not so much. For air, not so much.
Yeah.
And
The
I
way that
feel,
the game is presented right now, it seems like you're supposed to be on boots on the ground most of the time in a vehicle, like just as needed, ad hoc, force multiplication.
yeah. And when you combine that with the education, if the game provides education to these things and incentives to these things, then all of a sudden, I don't think Hesh would be used as much, because that tank will be too busy fighting other tanks. That air hammer won't be too busy because that pilot will be busy fighting and running off with others. Now the solution to this would be interesting. I had a crazy idea, and that would be, first off, it would probably it would take a huge change to the game, but I feel like if you turned nanites to an infinite source, and instead, in order to get nanites, you had to like capture vehicle bases with nanites. So, and if you run out of nanites, they don't regenerate. You'd have to pay certs in order to get enough nanites in order to get a tank. And then this way, people could constantly pull it. As for the max balance, I was thinking about like throwing them in terms of certs, but like making them cost more or something. I don't know. I haven't figured that part out. But for vehicles, if you made the nanites an economy to fight over and provide incentives to maintain that economy, provide risk and reward for that economy. You see, you pull a tank, you're making a risk because you spend nanites to get that tank.
And it's a finite resource.
Yeah, it would be a repeatable resource. I really like to tie currencies with player interaction because then it keeps the resource.
It creates natural incentives. Yeah.
Yep, it creates natural incentives forever. I love that.
Well, dude, I think that those are interesting ideas. I think those are some smart observations. I especially resonate with what you said about. I just love the way you framed it to say like the problem isn't the tank on the hill. The problem is that the tank doesn't have another fight.
The tank doesn't have any lunch.
Like if the tank, if the tank had other tanks to fight, then it wouldn't be on the hill spamming infantry fights. And actually, Spiffy, if you're interested, about 45 minutes, an hour ago, I was actually having a conversation with Lanzer right here on the stream, all about when he feels that dynamic changed in Planetside, where he kind of has this hypothesis he's working on, where he suggests that when Planetside went from having a hex-based territory progression system to the lattice-based system, that it used to be that you would have these big open field fights with tanks and planes, and you would have quick response forces that would drop behind the lines to cut people off and do all this kinds of shit. But then when the lattice came in, it just kind of crammed everyone down the same hole, and it stopped being about these massive battle lines. It started being about just progressing individual lanes, and all the fighting started happening right at the base.
I personally don't have any feedback for that or comparisons. I started playing Planetside in 2018.
Okay.
So I was here after CIA and all that stuff.
I'm in a similar boat to you, Spiff.
Yeah.
I actually didn't play before the Lattice came in.
Interesting
though that you might be interested to know though that both Planetside 2 and Planetside 1 had this exact same problem and this exact same solution.
No.
Both. Yeah, and I'm an old type Planetside 1 guy. I played Planetside 1 from the beta.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I saw you talking about it. So.
Yeah, word. And that game used to have an amorphous territory capture system. And it brought in the lattice, which is something that was worked on the forums by the community. And then basically adopted wholesale to solve that problem. And then Planetside 2 came out without a lattice and thought it could just get away with it. And then all of a sudden it's like, Anyway, I just, if you're interested, I encourage you to listen to that and see if you think that there's some truth there. Because what Lanzer suggested is that the game used to be much more, there used to be a lot more lunch for tanks and planes. Yeah. And I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I feel like those things can definitely resonate. I do. At first, I didn't think about I was thinking about people complaining about spamming Hesh doesn't take any skill and all that. This doesn't take any skill, so it's bad. But then I thought about it more, and I'm like, well, I kind of agree. Like, it's rewarding when you have more stuff like that. I feel like though, Hesh and this anti-infantry stuff would just be more alleviated if there was more incentive to do that. Like, I feel like we have untapped potential with the directive system for each player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if for just example, there can be a reward saying, hey, if there's combined arms over here, like maybe if there's tanks and aircraft, you will get this much and you'll get this reward if you can get 12 people to counter it, or you know what I mean. Also, to go back to the mission thing, I just forgot. Another great thing for missions is you can provide a reward to repair sunders that are under attack. You know, like, hey, repair this deployed sunder if it's attacked. This way, you don't have to buff sunders. You don't have to buff garages. You don't have to nerf vehicles. You get players to work together. A Sunday is really difficult. Anything in this game is super difficult when there's teamwork. That's why I mentioned recursion. I don't have the recursion thing, but I know the recursion as the outfit are really good at teamwork. People think they're invincible. The reason why is I think they're like one of the few outfits that like takes teamwork to a science in this game.
Yeah, they treat it very seriously.
Yeah.
They play hard.
I like CIK too, because I think CIK is doing this as well a little bit. I don't know if you know CIK or
not. Communications King. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I played with them a little bit, and I see that too. But I think just more incentives for teamwork. Like again, if you see an air ball, pull an air ball and have one squad pull aircraft and go counter it. There you go. There's your reward or something. Yeah. Obviously, again, there would need to be systems in place to detect these things. Which I think would be a pain in the ass to balance and bug fix probably. Yeah. But I feel like it would benefit in the long term. I'm all about long term. That's my mindset, is what can be played and enjoyed throughout time. Oh, another thing is prestiges. I feel like for veteran players, it would be cool if we could prestige our rewards, so we're not just sitting there with a bunch of missions that we can't do anymore. You know what I mean? Like maybe we could prestige the Araxium stuff and just continuously grow our what is that, directive score total?
Oh, sure. So have like multiple Araxiums.
Yeah, or stuff like that.
I have 100 Araxiums on this gun or something like that.
Yeah,
that kind of thing, and be able to show it. Like, one thing that I like that Destiny 2 does is they allow you to have a player badge that you can customize. And if you want to, you can show some data point about your character on the badge. So you can say, "Oh, I've killed X number of enemies in PvP," and anyone who looks at your character will see that. And the kill board on Planetside is a perfect way to show that information. So, like, you could say, I'm a Beetlejuice main, and I have, 150 Araxians on the Beetlejuice, and you just show that off. Yeah. And just dig the knife in that much deeper when you farm them.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know if this is thought of. I don't know what's going on behind the engine. I am behind the curtains.
Yeah.
But if Rel's watching, I would encourage you to look into, instead of nerf, buff, or change, look into education and incentive. And education to that incentive in all of the problems in the game, really. Like I feel like some areas will be definitely more challenging, again, like providing a system to detect these certain type of scenarios and stuff. But I feel like that's the future for Planetside. If done, I feel like that would really help the game. Because some of this stuff can be detrimental,
Absolutely. And hey, like, I mean, if every game developer I've ever spoken to, like these are people who get paid to sit around and think about games all day, all the time. They're feeding off these ideas. The things that we as a community talk about are very important, and they hear these things. I know Rel watches streams.
I saw him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to bet he's either had these ideas before or that they're similar to stuff that's already been in the hopper. The tough thing when it comes to game development is you got to turn it into a complicated ass computer program at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's so much that goes into it. But I really like what you said about education. I actually almost want to think about splitting that into two different ideas: education and discoverability.
Yeah, education and advertising. You got to advertise that to the player. the education.
Yeah, exactly. And like, well, I mean, I guess I'm thinking about it a little differently because I kind of feel like the game can never do as good of a job educating you as the community can. And you have to at some point figure out where the diminishing returns kick in. So I'm more of a proponent of community interaction when it comes to education, but I think that basic discoverability of fun gameplay interactions is something that there is fertile ground for. Like again, the idea of the crossbow knife combo and surfacing surfacing with a cool like audio call out or something like that. Those kinds of things. Go ahead.
Some other ones. I've been right now. I'm doing a crossbow only on a heavy and just running around two dinking people. It's really fun. You know, like stuff like that. Yeah. So one time scope, and run around as a heavy. Probably assimilate. I mean, not assimilate. Athlete. So you have some more maneuverability. And try to just do 2 shots.
Bro, that's perfect. Like I need loadouts like that because whenever I get tilted, one of the best ways for me to untilt is just to play a play style that I know is stupid, you know? Play something that I know is not optimal, and I take the pressure off being good and just like, okay, how can I have fun?
Deeg, you will love this. Every time you get a headshot, 600 health gone.
Yeah.
All players start panicking because they're like, you literally watch them run because once you get a headshot, over half their health is gone, and they're like, "What the fuck? What do I do?" It's so fun to watch that on screen, and it's very consistent.
I am definitely going to try crossbow heavy now.
Yeah.
Well, hey, heavy. Spiffy, man, thanks for hopping on. Lots of cool ideas. I think you're really right about a lot of this stuff, and thanks for sharing.
I got one other thing if you want.
Okay, so can we keep it brief?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the community thing, you're a very community individual. What we could do is have the game blend that community into the game. Sort of like, hey, if you want to learn about piloting, here's some communities to go. Like, I think the game could link that stuff, and it would have to be developer vetted, of course, to avoid abuse, because obviously this is open for abuse, like the mentor system can be. So far, I don't think so many people are doing that. But I think that could be it, is linking resources, linking Discords, resources, players. And I think for an incentive for those players is, what is it called? Famousness? No. Awareness. No, not awareness. Exposure. Yeah. So I feel like that would be an incentive. Well, no, I'm talking about like Perp. I'm talking about like linking whatever it is, Discord, YouTube, Twitter, or stuff like just
Perp's just talking about
nowhere to go, to go to find these people.
The game doing a better job of creating bridges between the communities, which like I've played a few different games that have tried to do this, and in my experience, Spiffy, games never can do a good enough job of building these bridges than the community can. I tend to come down on the side of I excuse the developers of the world from not doing that job because it's not something they can be good at compared to what the community can do. Even though I agree, like in a perfect world, a golden path would be like click this thing in the game to go to the community Discord to get connected with a mentor. Like all that stuff sounds great, but in practice, I haven't seen it happen successfully. And but I like the idea. It's a lot of this is down to like what are the weird side effects that can be created if you take this on, and are they worth the payoff? But yeah, good thoughts, dude. And Spiffy, thank you again for jumping on.
Thank you for letting me do this. I've never done this before.
Yeah, and look,
I was very shy. But
I'm really glad you stepped up, dude. And we'll do Collins again sometime. So stay tuned in. And next time we do them, hope to hear from you again.
You take care, buddy. It was fun messing with you.
Hey, by the way, don't you have a crazy question to ask me? Like, These questions are so sane compared. Like, I need a Spiffy special.
I'm a person that loves reactions. So to give you a little bit past history, I've always been the center of being yelled at. I've been abused in my childhood, so it's fun seeing other people react and do weird. I love seeing people.
You like trolling with people.
React.
You like messing people.
Yeah, I love trolling people.
I respect that. And keep the crazy questions coming, man. But anyway, I'm gonna wish you a good night, and I'll catch you later, Spiff.
You too, man.
See ya. That was Spiffy. NTV5X, I saw your point. I wonder if you could clarify what you're referring to. Careful of that way of thinking and not use it to excuse genuinely broken mechanics. Perp, by the way, what's up? I was just talking about you earlier. I during the lead up to Speedrunners on Friday, I've been enjoying finding you on Connery and creating a little bit of a fake rivalry in my head. Oh, there he is. Perp, what's up, dude?
I heard you were talking shit, Deeg.
Dude, I love creating fake rivalries in my head whenever I run across the same person in Planetside. I just kept running into you, man, on Connery last week.
Yeah, I think that's like, I guess, to get into kind of like the meta of a 1v1, especially on live, is like when two light assaults are playing, like especially like I noticed you play a very like kind of like vulture, like you're running sensor shield, so like it just naturally turns out to like whoever gets the first shot generally wins the engagement, and it's like, well, I'm up one, he's up one, I'm up one, he's up one, because we're just dropping on each other.
You were tracking too, huh? I knew it.
Yeah, well, like I wasn't hunting you per se, but I'm just like, I'm aware. I'm like Deeg is like one of the more competent players here, and like that's a threat I need to be cognizant of. So it just kind of naturally turns out to like killing each other more.
I loved it, man. And
yeah, it's been fun.
Those are some of the best moments for me on live. But yeah, like what you say about getting the first shot in, but like there's so much that goes into getting the first shot in, right? Like being smart about the way the battle's flowing, understanding how your opponent like prefers to approach things. Like you were just commenting on how I like to play, and yeah, like I've been playing around with the NS11 a lot lately.
I noticed. I commented that on my stream too. I'm like, man, Deeg really likes the NS11. That's all I've been seeing him use the past week or two.
I've been grooving on it, dude. Like it's a fun one. I used to always use the close quarters carbines, especially for Vanu the Serpent. Has always been my jam. Because for me, my biggest trigger was going one-on-one against the heavy assault and just losing. I'm like, fuck that heavy assault. I want the heavy assault to fucking die. So I'm gonna get the highest DPS.
I mean, that's what happens when you go against the dedicated 1v1 class.
Yeah, I know. And then like so
yeah.
But
then also like sorry,
go ahead. I was gonna say that my thinking changed. And I realized, okay, like I probably shouldn't try to fight the 1v1 class on their own terms. I probably should try to maximize the strength of what I'm doing. And let's look at all the other weapons, and I'm like, okay, NS11 has more range. It's got 5 extra rounds. It reloads faster. Like,
there's some like, I mean, I feel like that's the right kind of. I think of it kind of in like terms of a Venn diagram, where like most of it, you got like the big idea on the right of like light assault being good at light assault things, and then heavy being good at heavy things, and then like in the middle there's a little overlap of, hey, the GD7F is 845 143, so you can absolutely take that one-on-one with a heavy because you have a GD7F, sort of,
right?
Like, but most of the time, if you're not in that little gray zone, it's a kind of a fool's errand. Like, why would I take the 1v1 with the heavy who's got an Orion when I've got like a Tonto in my hands? That's just dumb. Like,
right? Yeah, and actually, it was a kind of an accident, but I found that when I started using the NS11C, I started creating those better habits in my head. Like, okay,
because you can't crutch on the extreme burst of the CQC carbines,
right? So for me, like the NS11's kind of been like a trainer. Play less dumb.
I see it. The NS11C is fun because you can tune it so much. Like the last time I Iraqed it, I ran it with not Survivalist. It was Assimilate, Assassin 5, and then with high velocity, grip, and a suppressor.
Word.
Which like it's not what you've been running at all, but
no. I've been running.
The NS11Cs are just very just you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of different things you can do. I've been running. I always run lasers on carbines. Like it's just I if I need to hip fire and I can't aim, it just bothers me so much.
Like carbine cone of fire, it like kind of lends itself to that.
Yeah,
especially like with the. Well, it's been more than a couple of years now, but I remember back in the day when carbines didn't have that.
Yeah, and before when the aerial cone of fire for carbines wasn't a thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and that's why SMG primaries for me are so painful. So I was so pleased when I finally hit 100 on my Emerald character.
Asp token, yeah,
and got to just punish your secondary round. And thank you, by the way, for showing off the combination of the impulse grenades and the Icarus jets, because I've been having so much fun with that, dude.
Yeah, I saw your video. I'm like, did he?
Yep.
Did he?
Yeah.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
It's hilariously good fun, and I don't purport to be a great player at all. And the point of that montage was not to show off; it's just to share the fun. So
yeah,
hopefully that read.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I probably make more YouTube videos than I should, honestly, but I don't know. I just make it because it's something fun. I wanted to. It's fun. It's different. I mean, not different now, but it's like at the time I started, it was new, and then it's just like, well, something like cool and neat. I'm not trying to brag here. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, well, hey, dude. I'm probably going to be playing less on Connery these days, so I hope to see you.
I'm on Emerald quite often. Don't worry.
Good. Hope to see you across the aisle. We'll continue to.
Pretty sure I've ran into you. Oh, because my Emerald characters are not labeled clearly. I keep very odd usernames on all servers that aren't Connery NC.
I see.
So we've almost undoubtedly ran into each other. I don't know if the name was it the bandstands seems familiar, or StatPad.
StatPad, yep.
That's me.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely run into that name a bunch of times. So
yeah,
that's good to know.
I don't know. I play too much Planetside.
Yeah, don't we all? Actually, I wish I could play more, but
yeah, I don't know. I find it comes and goes, which is like I think as you slowly devolve into quote unquote veteran status of Planetside, like managing burnout is a very like underutilized like soft skill in Planetside.
I think you're right. It's like actually how do you manage burnout? What's your strategy?
I don't take anything seriously in Planetside anymore.
Okay. So you once
part of it, like, yeah, I mean, not as many as some people. I know some people have gotten just way too in depth, but like, I'd be lying if I said there was a time where I'd be lying if I said I'd never obsessed about stats. Like I used to care about stats, and like when I was quote unquote getting good, like I would refuse to log out unless I was above a 2 KD. Like,
oh shit, I've done that too.
And
it's miserable. That's misery.
Yeah, dude. It's miserable because then you start going like, okay, well, I'm at a 1.5 and I get 10 kills. Okay, but I died, so now I need to get 12.
I do that same count too. Like kills above or below 2 KD for session.
And you've got like the rolling counter in your head, and like whatever, like if it's a 2 for you or a 1 for somebody else or a 3 for somebody else, like it's still just sucks the fun out of the game because now you've turned it from like planet game into this just shitty bean counting simulator.
Yeah.
And then so like stop caring.
Yeah, and
which I'm not saying
like appreciating like the dynamism of the game to hating the dynamism of the game, because the problem with Planetside stat tracking is it's so hard to control the game to a point where you can guarantee good outcomes.
Like you only have so much agency at any given time.
Right.
Exactly. Because like if somebody wanted to, they could pull a Bastion and like, good luck, pal. Just go somewhere else.
Oh God, yeah.
But so it's not to say like I don't care about like playing well. I just found a lot more, I guess, I don't even know what's the right word, but I found a lot more. It was better for my mental health to just like care about playing well and let the stats come naturally. Like focusing on stats would just ruin it. But if I instead of when I go to bed and think about, man, I had an awful session, I was below a 3, or I was below a 2 or whatever, I go like, well, that time I dropped on the light assault and missed, what could I have done better? And so kind of focusing on random scenarios that could have played better. And then over time that kind of shifted into, I just don't care about stats. Just play the game. And then also like outside of Planetside, just playing other games. Like I started playing like games normally that are just way out of my wheelhouse. Like World of Warships. I've been playing that. It's its own pile of shit, but it's different. Like it's like it's something new. And or like Ultra Kill, like just some like weird out there games, like or BPM. So just like managing burnout, play something else.
Especially I find playing stuff that that's not similar stuff you've played before. So you get to actually have the experience of like learning something new without the pressure of being good at it.
It's really refreshing to like, especially like in World of Warships case, because it's not like so you pick up a shooter. Like when I started to play Rainbow Six Siege, like it's like learning Rainbow Six Siege was not learning to shoot and stuff. It was just, okay, I can shoot. Now I'm just learning how to play Siege. I didn't have to like so a way a teacher explained it to me once in high school was like, in elementary school, you learn to read. And then after that, you read to learn. So like in a lot of games, like when we're learning Planetside, as an example, like you learn to play. You learned what a biolab was. You learned what nanites were. But then like you got that base level of knowledge, and then you play the game to learn the rest of it. And then you learn like, I don't know, like how to read a fight. When should I push crescent? Like how do I get onto the rocks at a biolab, right?
Yeah.
In Siege, like or any other shooters, if you've played enough shooters, like you can just jump right into the playing to learn stage. But like it's really refreshing to just jump into like a new game and be back at square one, like just totally new animal.
Yeah, and not know not being able to judge your own performance because you don't know what playing it well looks like.
Yeah, and like it's a really good ego check too. Like,
how so?
Like maybe I'm not as hot shit as maybe I should rethink this whole like crap. I'm kind of bad.
Oh shit. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. So one of my defense mechanisms that I use is I let people know I'm not a good player. And that way I set the expectation low for everyone else. I set it low for myself. So that's one of my defense mechanisms.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I feel like a lot of like good and not good is heavily like biased by like the kind of I don't know. I'm trying to think how to phrase this, but it's like you're not a bad player. Like
thanks.
Like objectively by like stats, bro. As much as I hate stats, but like objectively, like even the fact the conversation we had 5 minutes ago, you're talking about trying to stay above a 2. Like even if the quote unquote 2 KD is bad for whatever outfit, I don't plug whatever like elite group, I don't give a shit. I'm just using examples, but like the overwhelming majority of Planetside can't even keep a 1 KD. Like it's like by what metrics is bad.
Yeah.
Like
and so it's what you're evaluating against. Like one of the things I was talking about earlier on the stream is just how humbling it was to do the speed run on Friday on Shockter's stream because
you went against Kamikaze.
Yeah, and he beat me. And I actually went back and after I lost, I felt kind of bad. I felt like I'd let myself down by not taking a round off.
Losing never feels good. Like
yeah. But after going back and watching it, I was like, you know what? Like I played well for me, and that's good enough.
That's what you can really ask for.
Yeah, and if there was any major critique of my performance, it would have been that I just wasn't interested in or able to play heavy assault. If I'd been able to do that, there are some fights that I could have converted some kills. As that playing light assault was just too difficult. So
yeah, that's true. I mean, I know you're a light assault main, but some fights, like if you're, I'm trying to think of it like bases, like specific bases, but there's just fights where the light assault toolkit is just a net loss.
Yeah, it's not
because
good.
it's not. Yeah, you don't have the survivability of heavy, or like you just have extreme mobility, but that doesn't matter if it's like a wide open field and there's like, I don't know, a cobalt somewhere.
Yeah, like the way I tend to think about it is that the light assault kit. There are two ways I like to think about it. Number one is finding an interesting angle is nowhere near as useful as having 5 friendlies nearby to soak up bullets. Like that's almost always way more useful. And number two is like being able to find interesting angles is only useful if there are uncovered angles in a fight, which in a lot of bases, especially on like the old school continent of Indar, there are so many bases where it's just so easy for a force of, let's say, platoon strength to cover every single angle, and then there's no light assault.
Northern Indar area, I think like crater firing range. Like what can you do as light assault there?
Yeah. You
fuck all.
Get up on a roof, you ganked by some random vehicle or air. Or there's no flanking to be done because there are too few angles.
Yeah, and like I think like especially because you can flank with any class, and it's just light assault's toolkit lets you flank faster.
Yep.
Like, which is like really strong, like insanely strong. But when you remove the advantage of flanking faster by just sheer amount of dudes, like now you're just at a loss because you don't have the health or stealth or heal or like utility kit that like if I don't know if you've like played ASP engineer before, but like if you put enough ASP points into engineer, it's kind of insane what you can get away with.
Tell me about it.
So you can, I mean, it's going to be like minimum 2 or 3 ASP points, but you can get LMG or assault rifle access as your primary. And then you can get shotgun secondary. And then you could also get like EMP grenades in the 3rd slot. So
What?
Yeah, so on my Connor ANC, I don't have the EMP nades, but I run assault rifle primary and then pump action secondary.
That's
and so
brutal.
like with that, with those two things, and then you also get, so you put symbiote in one slot and flak armor in the other. So now you get like extreme resistance. And so you don't have the sheer like health pool of a heavy, but you got to remember and so engineer also has an innately faster shield recharge time. So if you wanted to, you could put an advanced shield capacitor in with symbiote, and so now you get nano weave and like a 3-second shield recharge. So you always are just getting shields back. And then if you have, say, I don't know, hard light wall, like now you have like portable cover, you have ammo, so you can just like do this Swiss Army knife of push me, I dare you.
That sounds so fun.
It's super fun.
It's
a really big investment of ASP tokens, but it's like if you have, and like I'm also kind of biased because not everybody has that, but like if light assault's not working and heavy's not working, and like I'll just whoop out the engineer, and it's like you can do some really dumb stuff with it.
Okay, this is actually very encouraging to me because like I'm feeling like at this point as a Planetside player, like I like light assault. It probably always will be my main class, but I need to have like a go-to other option that is appealing to me. And I have to say that even though I know heavy assault is like the meta infantry class, I have some kind of like internal resistance to it for some reason. I don't know why. Like the fact that it's meta makes me want to avoid it. It's like some oppositional defiant bullshit in my head.
I totally understand where you're coming from. Like so like for a while Recursion we did a WoW Classic, and like I played that, and so I played a rogue, but I was like, man, daggers and swords, like yeah, that's optimal, but that doesn't sound fun. I'm playing a mace rogue.
Oh shit.
They're like, why? And it's like, well, I don't know. I just want to whack stuff with hammers and get random stuns every couple swings. It sounds fun. Like
Hell yeah, dude.
I hear you where you're coming from on that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I really appreciate that. Like, it sounds like both in Planetside and in Classic, you're just like, yeah, like I could play optimally. I know what that path looks like, but everyone's trying to play optimally. I'd rather play what's fun for me. Like, it's more interesting. And at the end of the day, like, what do you?
God, I hate the word optimal because, like, in so many instances, it's like we're talking like tenths of a percentage or something where it's like, oh, it's not optimal. It's like, yeah, but what are you losing? Like, it's like if it's okay, if we're gonna like go down the path of like, if you're not using it, you're losing. Like, okay, that was the Canis when that was released. Like, okay, yeah, no shit. I only played VS when the Canis was released because that was hilariously overpowered. But like, like nothing like that. Like is just so like meta defining and optimal. It's like, I don't know. Like you can like cat-like Sidewinder. Is that optimal? No.
Oh
like,
man,
yeah,
I have
like give
not
me a
played around with
lasher
that play style, but I really want to.
Like, you do need like a hip fire weapon.
Yeah.
So, but like since you play VS, you're kind of in a better position for that naturally. But like cat-like Sidewinder with the lasher with the laser sight is like, if you know how to like use it, it's like you can easily hit 2 kills a minute.
Interesting. Huh.
Like,
yeah, one of the things I saw, Kamikaze did a build video, not for heavy, but for light assault, where he played with drifter jets and cat-like, and he
the drifter skating,
yeah, that looked super interesting. I really wanna give that a shot.
Yeah, and so all you really do with that, I mean, you don't really even need the cat-like. If my understanding of that build is correct, it's just because light assault jets activate at the apex of a jump, and so it gives you a little extra functional lift on startup because you're using cat-like. But all you can do it with any implants really. But you just press space and then hold crouch, and then the game kind of never registers you in a touching ground state, so you just like skim around like a mini version of Tribes or something.
That looks really fun. Yeah, I love the thing about light assault that's always attracted me is the movement focused gameplay. You know, I used to play a game called Team Fortress Classic, the predecessor to Team Fortress 2.
I think I've, digging through your channel, seen a couple videos of you casting it or something.
Yeah, there was there actually is still an organized league that plays. For a couple seasons, I was one of the main casters for it, and it's a game that the gameplay still holds up really well because not so much because of the interest of the arsenal or the depth of the classes, but because the Gold Source engines has so many weird movement things with bunny hopping and air control, and the arsenal has so many cool ways to interact with it. So you have two of the main offensive classes in Team Fortress Classic, the Scout and the Medic. The Medic has a med kit that never gets used because what's good about the Medic is the fact that it gets concussion grenades and regular grenades. So concussion grenades allow you to fly across the map, and it's just like
okay. Wait, so how do the conks work in that game? Because I assume they don't work like Planetside conks.
No, okay. So conks in TFC have two different functions. Number one, they dizzy your aim. So you can throw them at an enemy, and it'll make their gun point in all different directions of the screen. So it's hard to aim properly. It does follow a predefined path, so you can memorize it and you can overcome it. It's actually very interesting. Some of the best players in the game have really disturbingly good conk game. But the main reason conks get the main reason conks get used though isn't that, which is kind of similar to Planetside, where it kind of is like
emergent gameplay, kind of not intended but still useful.
Yeah. So what's emerged is a propulsion effect. So let me think if there's an analog in Planetside. I guess the closest analog would be the impulse grenade on the Punisher. Is that basically a concussion grenade allows you to throw yourself through the air, and if you can move well and get to 169% move speed before you hit the conk, and if you crouch right before you hit a ramp, you can fly at a high speed, curve around corners, bounce off ramps, and fly all over the place.
So it's like you're combining like surfing with like a speed boost kind of to
so essentially you're chaining several different techniques together to produce a result. If you look at it from the outside, it's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this looks like
what is this Looney Tunes garbage? What the hell?
And actually, I think that Whisker King, what's up? I see you. Thanks for the follow, and follow you every day. I'll look at that. But one of the contentions that me and my TFC buddies have is that a scout in TFC riding a concussion grenade is the fastest moving object in a shooter game, period. There's nothing that compares to it.
Gotcha. So it's just, I don't know. Does Scout have a faster base movement speed or something?
Yeah.
Or is it just like a small hitbox? Okay. Or all of the above?
Yeah. So Scouts are weaker but faster than Medics. Medics are stronger but slower, but they both have the concussion grenade, which makes them unique from all the other classes.
Gotcha.
And on the other side of the arsenal, you have Soldiers, which are a defensive staple class. So they're slow moving, but they have a rocket launcher that they can use to rocket jump. Classic Quake stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks for indulging that little anecdote. I'm going to talk about TFC very often.
Yeah, no worries. I imagine it's even more of a niche community than Planetside.
Yeah, I think there are like maybe 100 players in the world who still play competitive TFC. It's a very small world.
God, yeah, I bet. I mean, like Planetside's already a pretty small world. That's fascinating.
Dude, I just love dead games. It's my thing.
I like people. I love it when people meme about, like, you'll see sometimes like Rainbow Six Siege. People are, oh man, game's dying. It's like, you have a pro scene with like prize pools that are like real money. You're not dying.
Yeah, man. The dead game meme.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I don't know how long you've been doing this, but like I've been playing online games for 20 years. Like,
I mean, I'm 23, so my first game was Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube in first grade.
I got a little bit of tenure on you then. But even going back to your preschool days, fuck, I'm old. It was always that way. Like, online communities always loved to accuse games of being dead, and it always happened whenever a specific person lost interest, not when the game is actually dead. It's
like,
just
like the old guard's out, like they're dead. Game's dead, and it's like, dude, they played the game for like a third of their life. Like, give them a break.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what was it? I just totally forgot what I was gonna say. Crap.
If we were talking about something, go ahead.
So on Connery, so people like, especially with pigs moving over to Emerald, people are like, dude, server's dead, bro. Server's dead, bro. It's like, get out of here. Like, the Australians are here. You want a dead server? Talk to them. Like, like Briggs is a dead server.
Yeah, man.
Like, come on.
Rip Briggs.
Yeah, I mean, they got done dirty with Long Inside and everything. Like,
dude, yeah, that was bad shit. So hey, man, what's your take on Connery? It's still healthy in your opinion?
Relatively. I mean, I don't think it's a fair comparison to compare Emerald to Connery, because like Emerald's just so much more populated. But like, there's still fights on Connery. Like, it's not stealth. I made a comment on Reddit about this not too long, like today. But like, I think like all the servers right now are like kind of down, and like, you got to remember, like, Shattered Warpgate happened, which wasn't the most popular update. Like, Outfit Wars happened, which generated a ton of drama. Wasn't popular for some part of the community, was popular for some of it. Regardless, the community's just burnt out from it now. And so, like, after those two things, like, yeah, no shit, it's kind of on a downturn. But also, like, I don't know, the community, like, the dev team seems stronger than ever, and like the pipeline seems pretty phenomenal right now for what's coming soon. Like, I just think like right now, and also like, I don't know, so I started playing Planetside in 2012, Planetside 2. Like, a lot of people just don't look at like the macro scale, sort of like the game is like, it goes up, it goes down. I see you just pulled up the pop graphs. You got green, you got red. Like, if I saw like extended numbers of red, oh yeah, but I see a lot of green, I see a lot of red. Like, I'm not stressing right now. It's just these things happen. Like,
yeah, the interesting thing to me looking at this, and I actually almost about a year ago, I had a conversation where I brought this up, and because I know one of Rel's big things is that like he wants to grow the game over time. He wants to increase the number of people who are playing Planetside total, period.
yeah.
And
like Rel is like, for all the shit he cops, like Rel is probably like the perfect person to like helm Planetside in my opinion. And I might catch some shit for this, but like the man like has nothing but zeal for the game. Like if I remember Drew, when Drew was around, he told me like without Rel there is no Planetside, and like fault him for whatever, for which like there are some deserved things that you can fault him for, but like the man's got like a passion for Planetside, and like you gotta respect it.
Yeah, and like this is actually your perspective is one that I feel deep in my soul. Like I've talked to the guy, we've heard Cardo say that there were moments where Rel stood up to the senior management and said, "What you've done to Planetside is raw and it's wrong and it's fucked." And he spoke his mind in a way that is brave, and he's fought for the game over the years. And I cannot read people complaining about Rel and not think
God.
you are so fucking dumb.
That dude, it's just the Planetside community is so entitled. Like I feel like we're in such a state of privilege to like not only have a community that's like that like the devs interact with regularly. Like Rel's in the Planetside Discord. He's like, he talks and he stops by Twitch streams, and like he stops by Twitch streams of like not the giant faces, quote unquote, Planetside all the time. Like, and then like let alone that same guy is a member, like a former member of the community. Like holy shit, the Planetside community is so fucking spoiled. Like,
yeah,
my God.
Like I think I try to generate some sympathy for it. I think that there's a performance aspect to it. And just to be clear, what I'm referring to is like the group clowning on Rel that happens.
Yeah, and like he's kind of the lightning rod for it too. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of natural. He's like the lead designer. He's a former community member. He's a very public YouTuber. Like, it's kind of deserved in a way. Like, it's fine. It's fine.
Like, it's understandable.
And it's natural people would address feedback to him. It's natural he would receive more negative feedback than someone else in the role, perhaps. And all that stuff is fine and justifiable. And I'm not trying to say that the guy's done nothing but good work, because, you know, like
100%. Like,
there's plenty of room to unpack
with some of the stuff he's done.
Yeah, and most people do have some issues with one or two things. But when I hear the memes about like removing Rel or Rel fucked this up,
drives
like,
me up the wall.
It's like, do you like this game? Do you know that you wouldn't have the opportunity to like this game if Rel wasn't here? Like, you're people who talk about Rel being the wrong person are living in a fantasy world.
Yeah, and like, I mean, full disclosure, like I used to be very much on the like dead game. Like I got some cringy shit in my Reddit history, dude.
Oh baby, I'm going to search that.
I mean, you can do it. I've purged some of the real bad stuff, but I also like full disclosure, like I've left a lot of it up because like I don't know, like I believe in second chances.
I do too. I do too, and that's very brave of you.
Like I purged some of the awful shit because there was some of it with old outfits and stuff, but I probably shouldn't be mentioning it on a stream, but whatever.
Highlight it right here, up in lights. Let's go.
Highlight it. Oh God, I mean,
Perp's confession reel. This is your life.
I used to be banned from our Connery, dude. Like, come on.
Oh shit. Okay. Who have I brought up? No.
Oh God. Right, but like, it's just like. It's a bit of a tangent there, but it's like, I don't know, like just like think, read, like there's just so many just entitled people about it, and it's just, yeah, I don't know, man. It's, people in this game are just so fucking dense.
Yeah, and so I try to. There's this quote I try to keep close to my chest by a Dutch philosopher that goes something like this, which is, I have labored carefully not to dismiss or execrate human actions, but rather to understand them. So it's basically a philosophy of trying to see the truth or the human behind these things. And I think that there's a certain meme culture of performance when it comes to REL these days, where people are trying to outdo each other to entertain each other, and they have their own audience for it. And there's this unfortunate effect that I think we saw with Cyrious recently on the subreddit, where
that was such a delightful shit show.
You know, I think those are great words to describe it, because my perception is that there are a very small number of people who go to great effort to whip up a controversial narrative, that then there's a much larger number of people who either aren't savvy or involved enough to understand the details, and they end up contending with these issues from the colored perspective of these people who are just trying to troll and take someone down for fun.
Yeah, it's like a lot of like, so I mean, like, I saw kind of all that shit, and at first like first reaction is like, what the hell? And then like, I don't know, I feel like too many people, especially on the internet, like just take things at face value. Like, I'm not gonna like be one to go into like, ooh, fake news or whatever, but like especially in like niche gaming communities, like you have to always like kind of like allow room for like ulterior motives and like bias, because like there's not a lot of there's a small group in like every community, I'd say, but there's always bad actors, like people looking to stir up shit, and especially when it's in like such a like public, I guess as public as Planetside can be, scenario is like serious. It's like the same group of like 5-10 people on every Reddit thread.
Yes. And because of the weird anonymity of Reddit, and because there's a community big enough to give initial upvote surges to those posts, they just gain this traction that's unnatural compared to the actual.
In which I feel like the quote you mentioned is like especially topical. Like the person behind, like we're all behind keyboards here. Like it's very easy to just kind of just go in and just like rip into people because like, I don't know, it's just like it's a handle on and some pixels on a screen. Yeah, I'll call that person an idiot all day.
Yeah, it's easy not to see the human behind the name, and I too like have my difficult spots. Like I took apart the Cyrious situation last week on my show, and I have a hard time seeing the human in people who would stream snipe events like those. I have a hard time generating sympathy or interest in that, in their perspective, because to me, I see falling to a base instinct with little fear of repercussion as not being something that is interesting to look at. It's like if you put a kid in a room alone with a cupcake and say they can have it if they want, and they eat it, that's not interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like when we're kind of getting into like a very like meta philosophical discussion of like subverting expectations, but like, I mean, like, and like going back to what you said of like wondering if people like the game. It's like, like Blackberg and the Late Shift, like them having a good time playing Planetside is a boon to Planetside, no matter how you slice it.
Yep.
Like, okay, like, so you don't farm them live. Okay, and like the stream snipe, like it's such a weird scenario because when you get to like groups of that size, from a purely map gaming like strategical standpoint, it's kind of impossible to avoid them. And like, and I mean, people are drawn, like the players in Planetside are content. Like that's how it's been forever. And like
there was someone who I highlighted who dropped an orbital strike on them, and I showed the clip of it. It was a great clip. And I actually showed the player's profile who dropped the orbital strike. I was like, I'm not sure if this is a stream sniper or not, but this is what happened. And that player actually commented on my video and explained that he dropped 3 orbital strikes on them because they were forming a massive vehicle column, and vehicle columns wreck fights.
Right, and like that's that is a totally like sane. And then like on one hand, it's kind of a travesty that you need to explain like a in-game action like that because like the water gets so muddied with the like bad actors and then the people who just naturally see a large fight and want to go there.
Yeah,
it's like people getting caught in the crossfire like that. But like setting up mines for a pre-planned turbo harasser race, it's like, come on, dude. Like the people say, take it to Jaeger. It's like, yeah, but Jaeger's not Planetside. Like Jaeger is like a facsimile in a controlled environment, and Planetside by definition is not a controlled environment, which is kind of the crux of the issue is that like it's not a controlled environment.
Yep. Yeah. I actually responded to a point similar to what you're riffing off of on Reddit, in the Reddit thread, one of the Reddit threads, one of the many, about where the event's conducted. And my point was, like, you can't get the genie without the bottle, and you can't have Planetside without a live server. Like, it's not the
possible.
game. And like, if you try to take an event like this and put it on Jaeger, you're going to get some kind of weird thing that people aren't going to understand. And when they play the actual live game, they're going to be confused.
They're like, wait, what do you mean I can't do the harasser raid?
Yeah.
Or like then on the other side, you're going to get in like like, what do you mean you're gating fun events to like rules to Jaeger? Like, not everyone has a Jaeger account, dude. It's like, there's no winning.
Yeah. And I feel like these arguments about like, well, this shouldn't happen on live is, again, kind of similar to the world of replace rel or cancel rel. It's like it's living in a fantasy of not understanding the basic parameters of the reality that they're living in, where they don't understand the obvious side effects of the things that they're asking for. Like there's not that next level of thinking through the problem. And man,
there's that, but I also think there's and this is perhaps the scarier part, is there's a group of people who are just willfully ignorant of that.
How would you describe that willful ignorance? Is it like gleeful, or is it like
it's just this like gleeful, this gleeful malice, like just and like so Spiffy talked about being a troll, and like I'll be the first to admit that I absolutely adore doing dumb shit and watching people's reactions.
A good troll can be in good fun.
Like that too, and there is some fun to be had with doing evil stuff, like, but like there's limits to it, and it's not like you got to look at the bigger picture, right? Like, okay, maybe you hide in a corner with a pump action as a minor cloak heavy, like, and wait for the BR1 to walk onto point, and then you blast him into oblivion. Like, right? That's mean. That's evil. It's funny, but it's also a one contained instance. If you went and did that until he logged off, then you're a piece of shit. But like one out of the blue, like that's just so absurd. It's hilarious. But like just this like orchestrated, like coordinated toxicity is kind of not cool to, you know?
Yeah. I want to understand it better. I want to understand the seemingly coordinated lockstep toxicity that we see better. I wonder if I can get one of the ship posters to talk to me about why they do it. I have a feeling they won't, but I'm an open-minded dude.
I advise you to tread cautiously, but I mean,
look, I treading cautiously is something I cannot do. If I don't know if you know me, but like I'm best friends with Lex, just to give you like an idea of what I'm talking about. I invite danger to my doorstep. I say, bring it. I like something that was said in the chat here a few moments ago about Whisker King saying there's an entire book on the psychological effects of being less inhibited online. Yep. Sometimes I think putting people's real names on their characters would be an interesting little social experiment. But at the same time, or like, link their Facebook profiles.
That's getting like kind of dangerously Brave New World, but it would be fascinating to watch. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's kind of like the devil on my shoulder wants to see that.
Yeah, and
it would have weird side effects.
Yeah, like that's the eternal issue with video games. And I say issue like it's a bad thing, but I mean issue as in just like ever present point is just the anonymity. Like it's just I guess modern online gaming is like foundationally anonymous.
It is. It's interesting, right? Like how that I've been playing online games since the late 90s. It's always been anonymous. And whenever the idea of getting rid of anonymity comes up, it's like there's this great like revulsion people have because they're so used to their veil of anonymity. And the thing is, like, that veil of anonymity is not something that's actually abused by most people. It's like just a small number of people who abuse it. And so
I like to think it's like a leftover of the like I don't want to say like golden age of the internet, but like okay, you've been on the internet far longer than I have, so you probably know better. But like the internet used to be a very like fun, innocent place for the most part, right?
I don't agree with that at all.
Okay, fun, innocent. I mean, I
think it's gotten more fun and innocent as time has gone on.
Yeah,
it used to be darker and more dangerous.
Let me rephrase. It used to be like within like small hobbies and communities, like it was all like forum based and stuff. So even though it was anonymous, like you had a like established persona that people knew you by, and that's like I feel like that started to erode with like the creation of like Reddit or like just the pervasiveness of internet culture in real life.
The onset of major social media platforms and moving away from small island communities that happened on forums and chat servers and things like that really definitely changed a lot of things fundamentally. It's hard to overestimate.
Your Battlefield server had like a small little forum, 40 people on it.
Yeah.
Oh, a new guy popped in. Oh shit! Hey man, what are you? Well, that's cool. Like, oh, I used to play that game too. And back and forth. And now like that doesn't happen. Now you get some dude who just rolled a Reddit account that doesn't need an email, and he's coming in posting like just degenerate memes on your subreddit, and you're like, what the hell is this? I don't. What?
Well, bigger platform, or bigger stage, bigger audience.
Or like, God forbid, like your niche subreddit gets featured on RL as like a trending subreddit or something, and it's just like,
it's an interesting thing to unpack. And like I can verify that definitely the thing about the early internet that really distinguished it from today's internet is that the power of connectivity was much lower. There was a much higher barrier to entry to actually connect to people. And what that resulted in is that when you did connect, usually people who put in the effort to connect were more willing to go to greater lengths to connect, which generally created, in my opinion, more interesting connections on a human by human basis.
Almost.
Yeah, like most of my best gaming buddies are all people I played games with 20 years ago. Most of them, and they're all people who I played with in high school. It's true. Like most of my buddies are dudes who I played with in high school and college, and they're all grown up and they're all doing all their shit now, and most of our interactions are complaining about our careers and our wives. Like we're gaming boomers, and
right now that's something that I'm so like it's like this weird like sick fascination. Like I just wonder what the internet's going to be like in 40 years, but also like there's going to be like actual, well, not going to be boomers because it won't be but like boomers like mentality, like entire like gaming groups where like we like to say haha like boomers on the internet. Like there's going to be like communities of like 60, 70, 80 year olds. Like like it's going to be like,
how about retirement homes at LAN centers?
Yeah. Like retirement homes where like everyone's playing some just like ancient shooter and they're gonna be like, Grandpa, what the hell is this? Back when I was your age, we had 3D and we liked it. Like
exactly. Is that N64 controller, kiddo? The N what?
Like it's just so fascinating to me. Like what the future like. On one hand, like the future of gaming has some pretty grim prospects because recent games have been pretty terrible in my opinion. But like the kind of like social side of gaming, I think is just going to be just incredible to watch unfold.
Yeah, I don't know. I tend to think that the most interesting things that are happening in gaming are no longer happening in the AAA space.
Agreed.
So,
like that being said, like some indie games, just absolutely stellar stuff. Like,
yeah.
Which I'm kind of like, part of me really hopes that like some other thing comes to the forefront, because like with recent events, gaming kind of got a huge boost because that's all everybody could really do in their free time.
Sure.
Like, I kind of would like want something else to come to the like social conscious, like grab its attention, so that gaming can kind of recede to like a hobbyist niche kind of. Which,
you
like,
have
it would
to
never
do a
happen.
time machine for that, dude.
Yeah,
it's never
and like
gonna
that's
happen.
just never gonna happen. But just something with like kind of where it can like sit in the wings kind of quietly and like go back to making really cool games.
That's what I remember, like the early 2000s being like, dude, when I was a college student, and like it was kind of weird to be a PC gamer. Like it was kind of a weird
That's
niche.
that's where I grew up. Like,
yeah.
So I was born in 1997. Like I first I got into gaming with consoles. Like the first thing I played was Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube. And like, but also like, so from my perspective, growing up, it was honestly like probably because like you growing up, like you saw like the emergence of video games, like and how like
Super Nintendo, stuff like that.
Super basic they used to be, and then I'm kind of reaching here. Like you went into college, and then it kind of, oh shit, this is cool. Like there's great games coming out.
Yeah.
But like, like, so I just appeared in the middle of that. So like I grew up with like the Medal of Honor games, like the early Call of Duties. Like
I hated those games. Like, holy shit.
Like the Luigi's Mansion, like just all of these games that are kind of just regarded as like legendary. And like that's what I grew up on. Like Skyrim came out when I was a freshman in high school. Like,
oh, wow.
Do you know, like that is all we talked about for months. Like
Skyrim, dude. Fuck.
Yeah. Like, and now like somewhere along the line, like all the good stuff stopped.
Yeah, what you're describing is what to me the early 2000s felt like is the end of good video games. Because to me, because gaming in certain genres started moving away from stuff that I liked, specifically first-person shooters. You were talking about Call of Duty and Medal of Honor. To me,
I don't like Call of Duty, but I will admit that they are regarded as really good games, like the early ones, like Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah, they are. I agree with you. They are regarded as good games. I just personally despise them to the end of time, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah. I hate kill streaks, score streaks, hate it.
Actually, it's not even about that for me. For me, it's more fundamental. Is that for me? I grew up playing like arena shooters, like Unreal Tournament, Quake. I did LANs in my high school computer center, playing Quake Deathmatch with all my friends. Did Quake 3 at LAN parties when I was a senior in high school and in college, and all kinds of Half-Life mods and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, shooters turned gray. They turned brown, and they started slowing down. And they started going tactical. It started being about aiming down sights. It started to be about creeping around corners and peeping, and then you started having third-person shooters with awful cover mechanics.
I hate third-person shooters.
Cover mechanics, the worst thing that ever happened to a shooter.
Press space to vault, and that's the only way you can leave cover.
For me, someone who was playing high-flying, fast shooters, felt like a massive regression that to me didn't really end until like Overwatch came out. And all of a sudden, like color came back into the first-person shooters. That was missing for like 15 years.
As much as I don't like Overwatch, I will admit that the color palette's very pleasing.
Yeah, and also like just more of a enablement of like arena style mechanics. Like a lot of guns in that you can't even aim down sights.
Yeah,
and there are these weird, crazy like power interactions, and it's just like it's kind of crazy and weird and high flying, and you aren't creeping along the ground playing that game.
Yeah, I kind of like. So you say it's at some point games became gray. I think like the becoming gray is a symptom of like along the way games like stopped trying to be games. Like there was a huge kick for realism, tactile. Yep. It's got to be realistic.
Right.
I'm playing a video game. I'm playing a game. Like that's like I think part of like the appeal to Planetside players is that like there's just enough like of the like quote unquote gritty. I hate the word realistic when it comes to video games. I despise it.
Well, it's grounded.
There's just thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Like but there's also a whole lot of lunacy in it. Where it's like, what do you mean? Like shooting someone 4 times in the head, but it makes for fun gameplay. Like I can print a car, I can print a tank out of nano. Like I feel like it's just I don't know. There's a lot of just like game aspects that like serve to make the gameplay fun, but it's still like a grounded experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think Planetside does strike a cool balance, and for me, I like sci-fi flavorings, so that's always cool with me. Spaceship stuff, whatever, you know, scythes, Vanu,
absolutely,
hail Vanu.
Yeah, like World War II is such a tired shooting like setting.
Yeah, the whole reason I brought up the brownification of shooters is because I don't know, I just kind of feel like it's natural for gamers when they hit a certain point of maturity to like you get past the stage of gaming where it's all about finding bigger, better, more fun, and then you get to a level of maturity where it's like, oh, you kind of like know what to expect now, and when you see games coming out, you stop seeing them for what they could be. You start seeing them for what they're not, or because you understand what they are better, and you can't just go into them with that new like fresh baby faced mindset.
Yeah,
and then like for me in my 30s, so it took like more like a decade for me to get to this point where you kind of go back in a way. You let go of for me, I've in a big way let go of a lot of the bitterness I have towards some of these games, and starting to see some of the fun in places where I wouldn't allow myself to before. That's just me.
Okay. The way you put it, like the way I wouldn't allow myself to see fun. Like I feel like there's a lot of like moral righteousness almost when it comes to like opinions in gaming, where it's like even if it's like a good game or something, there's just like you just refuse to let yourself like enjoy it, and like at some point it either like builds up and becomes something like toxic, or you just kind of like you just like, dude, enough's enough. It's a good game. I'm gonna play it and enjoy it for what it is. Like,
I'm like that with battle royales right now. I have a little bit of inbuilt bitterness towards them, but I'm sure I will end up playing them sometime soon because there's good games.
Yeah, I just dislike the format. Like, I mean, like let's actually like Apex just put in a 3v3 mode, which has me supremely interested in it now.
Apex looks so good, dude.
And like Apex, like the movement system in Apex is one of the highlights. And like I'm eternally torn because it's so much fun to like zip around and like slide and stuff. But then on the same token, I'm just always saddened because it's not Titanfall 2's movement. It's a neutered version of Titanfall 2's movement.
Yeah.
But it's like I can't hate Apex movement system for not being Titanfall, but I just don't play Apex because I don't like battle royales.
Yeah, man. It's okay not to like stuff, and one of the other things I've really embraced as I get older is that I don't have time to play everything. It's okay if I'm picky about what I play. Like I've started letting go of the guilt that I have about barely ever playing single player games, because man, I only have so many hours to put into actually playing games, and I just don't need lonely gaming experiences.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always now, like as I sort of developed like a taste in video games, is like growing up, especially on a console, like I never really had an internet connection on my console until probably high school or so. So single player was all I really had. And so when it comes to single player games, like I like them. I don't play them as often, but as they come around, I'll probably play one or two. Like I played Cyberpunk, really enjoyed Cyberpunk, which might not be the most popular opinion, but like I'm also
get out of here.
Get out of here!
You're kicked
How
off
dare
the
you
internet.
disagree with the hive mind?
Exactly.
God, Cyberpunk, I feel so bad because like also like going into Cyberpunk, the way some people treated Cyberpunk was how I treated No Man's Sky. I was so hyped for No Man's Sky. Oh my god!
Oh man,
I was so excited. Like, I had that shit pre-ordered. I was ready to play.
Oh yeah,
and we all know how that turned out.
I'm hearing that song banging around through my head while you're talking about it.
But and so for a time, I swore off a pre-order. So I kind of still have. I don't really pre-order things anymore, which is a good thing. But like, Cyberpunk came around and I saw it. I'm like, man, this looks cool. Mm-hmm. But I also see the hype machine going, which means it will never be as good as a game as people want it to be.
Once burned, twice shy. Huh?
Yeah. And so like, I'm interested in it. I didn't like follow every announcement. Like I watched the trailers and stuff, but like, I don't know, just be realistic with your expectations. Like, I feel like that's just like a really big lesson that for some reason people can't grasp with new releases. It's like, and like Cyberpunk had big issues on release. Absolutely. Oh my God. They probably could have delayed it without issue, but
you probably need another year, honestly, year development.
Yeah. And like at the end of the day, I enjoyed it, but like, I think it's also fair to remind people that The Witcher 3, like perhaps the most like famous game CD Projekt Red's ever released, also had a pretty rocky release, and now people like cream their pants talking about it, which isn't like an excuse for Cyberpunk's state of jank at release, but like something to think about.
Yeah, no, you're right. Everything you said is right. Witcher 3 did not have an 8-year-long hype cycle.
That too. Like,
I mean, CDPR invited all the hype. Like, they courted the hype directly, and I have a funny feeling they're never going to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. But that being said, I'm still really excited to see where Cyberpunk goes. Like,
yeah, I'm still waiting. So I played through the intro of Cyberpunk to see what it was like. I'm still waiting to see an update for the game that will make me feel like I want to do my first playthrough.
Gotcha.
I'm waiting for.
They've been doing like a ton of bug fixes and stuff.
Yeah. I'm waiting.
Which is great
for fleshing out some of the major systems.
But yeah, I feel that because I was quite let down, especially with the customization.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know, like your whole we've digressed from Planetside quite a bit.
That's what I do.
Right. Start somewhere, see where it goes. But like, if you're one of the side characters is a character called Lizzie Wizzy. She's actually played by Grimes, a musician in real life. Who's a very, very odd character. I don't know if you're familiar with Grimes' music.
I'm not.
She, I think she was the mother of Elon Musk's child, actually.
Oh, that rings a bell. Yep.
Yeah.
The little weird letters in his name.
Yeah, that one. So she voiced Lizzie Wizzy, who is this like android pop star. Or former human, she's like transhuman pop star. So she has like chrome skin and just like, I just wanted more of like that. Like it's supposed to be this
more
like
of the weird stuff.
Yeah, like it's the future. Like I'm putting like red hot knives in my forearms as a weapon. Like why shouldn't I have like, I don't know, like metallic emerald skin and like tiger stripe pink hair? I don't know. Like let me get wild with it. It's like 2077 in an alternate universe where
you don't want to wear a fedora and a Hawaiian shirt.
I mean, right? Like I wanted just the weird shit, man. Like give me like mirrored eyes, like, and it's like we almost got there. Some of the hairstyles are pretty wild and like hair colors, but it's just very watered down from what I would have liked it to be.
Right. Well, Perp, this is really fun to talk about, but I'm getting pretty tired. So
yeah, it's getting late, man.
I think I gotta thank you for coming on. What's that?
Are you West Coast?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's 11:30.
Yeah, it's not too late. No, I'm in the greater Seattle area, so this isn't too bad for me. But I'm probably gonna do some more of these call-in streams in the future. This is kind of an experiment, but I think it's been a successful one. So
this was super fun.
Let's do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And thanks for dropping by. And
thanks for having me.
I'll see you in game. Watch out, buddy.
And to think this started with, I heard you were talking shit.
Who told you? Who told you?
I tuned into your stream after I logged off, and so I was skipping through, and I saw you like talking about the fake rivalry and stuff.
I see. Nice. So I got lucky. Nice.
I usually tune into streams of people I know are streaming after I log off, just to see if I did anything stupid or you did something stupid to me.
Well, let's keep up the stupidity then. I'll see you out there.
Absolutely. Yep. Have a great night, Deeg.
Later, Perp.
Later.
Okay, I'm gonna read some comments and then we're gonna seal this thing up for the night. Big pleasure, Perp. Thanks for dropping on by. Really, seriously. I really enjoy fighting you on live, so I'm definitely going to be hunting your ass. Watch out. Game on. Whisker said, when's there been a decent story in a single-player game for a long time? Maybe the last great single-player game was what Skyrim, Baldur's Gate. I literally can't think of any good single-player games. They just don't write like they used to. Publishers, for example, are using gatekeeping hard. Even the story is nearly impossible to get a book published in the original story. Yeah, Whisker, I think this is a AAA problem, not an everything games problem. Let me turn you on to a couple of games, single-player games that I'm trying to make time for. A counter to my narrative, but not playing single-player games. One is a game called Outer Wilds, which is a game all about a clockwork universe where you uncover a story and a mystery 14 minutes at a time. And I won't tell you what... Okay, this isn't just Outer Wilds. But this is an incredible single-player game that is 100% worth the time. Another one that I'm trying to make time for is Disco Elysium. Like, there is really good, meaningful, new, interesting stuff out there. It's just not in the AAA space. Monoculture problem. Could you explain what you mean when you say monoculture? Hellblade, that's the action game dealing with mental illness, right? Senua's Sacrifice or something like that. I've heard of it. I know it's considered to be good. Is it? It's not a PC game though, is it? Isn't it only on console? It's on Steam. All right. Well, I'll put it on my want to play, but we'll probably never get around to it till I get fired list. One day when I can make a living off of this. It's really special. Specific requirements for game to require to fit a very narrow monoculture on political requirements. I mean, I think that you have a point there. I think it depends on how big of an audience the game is trying to get. Like, if you're really trying to market to every single possible gamer out there, then you do have to be very sensitive to those things. And if you're putting hundreds of millions of dollars behind it, then you have ridiculous accountability at many different levels and many different partners. So it's like, I'm really not that worried about gaming as a whole, because the reality of it is anyone, the tools needed to create games have never been more accessible than they are today. And gaming as an industry has never been bigger than it is today. Like, gaming is in actually a really great spot to get lots and lots of innovation. If there's anything that we should be worried about, is like, what's the next big innovation going to be? Because 3D hasn't caught on. I mean, sorry, virtual reality, not 3D. VR hasn't caught on. And the thing that could change in our future is a major innovation on gaming that takes it into a very different feeling space compared to playing 3D games on 2D screens. But I don't know what that'll be. You agree with Perp on this. Perp is always right. When in doubt. Is this the one from Iron Tower Studios? Disco Elysium, Kai asks. Let's see who made Disco Elysium. Off the top of my head, I don't know that. It says it's by ZAUM. Zom. You're a tabletop war game dev 3D modeler. That sounds insanely interesting, Whisker King. I heard you mention earlier, Whisker, that you would be down for designing some Planetside 3D models. What kind of stuff would you work on? Like new helmets and stuff? The Player Studio is dead, right? Bayonet and Ricochet miniatures. Cool. Colony ship. Oh, God. I hate the way that Twitch just like autoplays stuff on the home screen. It's the worst. Player Studio's on indefinite hiatus. Yeah. My understanding is that there's legal stuff there that completely ground it to a halt. I don't know the details, but if you make a Halo helmet, you can make a helmet that looks like a Halo helmet, but if you make it look exactly like the Halo helmet, probably there will be liability concerns. But it's probably all moot because I don't think the Player Studio is going to come back anytime soon. You're more likely to get working internally with Daybreak as like Doku did. Although I have no idea what that relationship looked like. But anyway, I must pass on the love to an alternate planet man or planet woman. For I'm calling it a night. Y'all, I have loved the hell out of this conversation. This is really fun, having people in to talk about the game, about life, about everything. Look, I'm going to be back here tomorrow night streaming a different game called Guild Wars 2, if you've heard of it. There's a build-up to an expansion for that game, and I'll be looking at a new story release for them pre-expansion. Could be good, might not be, I don't know. I also am going to be back here every single Monday night with my camera on, talking through stuff. This is what I do. And in between times, feel free to check me out on YouTube, !point YouTube. Join the Discord to hang out. Follow me on Twitter to hear my random ass thoughts on stuff and know when things are going on. And yeah, you know what to do. Follow, like, subscribe, smash things. I'm Deeg, and I am devoted to the ancient art of conversation. Y'all keep rocking it out. And I hope you all have a fantastic evening. Peace.